Good morning and welcome to the AM show with me, Sweetie Aboshi and Benjamin Akakpo. I think this is the best breakfast show on the block. Now, the topic on a lot of people's mind this morning is the Vice President's speech yesterday. But before we get into that, I'll serve you the news in a bit. And then we have the news review. Member of National Communications team of the governing New Patriotic Party, Kweku Jesse, will join Benjamin Akakpo for the news review. He's also the former head of communications for One District, One Factory Secretariat and Monitoring Evaluation Secretariat at the presidency. Muftar Nabila will come next to present a segment on the AM Sports, and then we get into the big stories, the conversation about the VAT that government put on electricity consumption above lifeline consumers on hold. It appears government is starting to listen to the cries of organized labor and ordinary Ghanaians, and they say that they're still talking about this and they'll see what they can do about it. Also, the Vice President and flag bearer of the governing New Patriotic Party, Dr. Bawumia, has been speaking. He's been explaining why he should be made president. He's pledged to abolish the controversial levy on electronic transactions, commonly known as the e-levy, if elected into power. I have lots of questions on that. He also says that his administration will not have more than 50 ministers and deputy ministers. Now, according to him, his government will enhance the role of private sector along with fiscal and administrative decentralization while improving how systems and institutions function. We've got all this on our table today to discuss. Now, again, today we start a new segment on the AM show. It's called AM Exclusive. Our first guest is Member of Parliament for Anyaso Utum, Dr. Dixon Adumakukisi. He lost his bid to be retained as the parliamentary candidate for Anyaso Utum, but we have a conversation and we'll delve into all that today. And then on AM on Wheels, I'll be at Amasaman today. We have a conversation on with the residents on the dusty roads, accident-prone area, and what you want your authorities to do about the situation. So come out and speak with me today. Also, you watching us at home, our cherished viewers, you get to have your say, whether via social media or when we open the phone lines, because the show is about you and for you. Welcome to the AM show. It's time now for the news. Let's settle for that. This is AM News on the AM show. Let's begin with flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Bawumia, who's promised to abolish the e-levy charges and halt all charges on digital transaction if elected president. The e-levy, which was implemented in 2022, sees a 1.5% levy on e-transactions. Now, delivering a speech on his vision as the torchbearer, Dr. Bawumia explained that he wants to make Ghana a cashless economy as soon as possible.
So far, the Bank of Ghana has made a lot of progress in this direction by putting in place a lot of the systems and infrastructure required. These include mobile money interoperability, merchant interoperability, the universal QR code system, GH-Link, debit cards, eSwitch, and Ghana Pay. We have put in place the necessary infrastructure for Ghana to go cashless. Recently, the Bank of Ghana has completed a pilot of a digital version of the Ghana cedi in Seshwiwioso. This is known as the Central Bank Digital Currency, or the e-cedi. The e-cedi is designed to work online and offline, and will be launched by the Bank of Ghana in due course. In my humble opinion, the e-cedi with appropriate privacy protections will be the ultimate weapon in our fight against corruption, because it will provide transparency, reduce the risk of fraud, robbery, tax avoidance, and money laundering, since it will be easy to track the movement of money and identify suspicious activity. The e-cedi will quicken the pace of Ghana's move towards a cashless or near cashless society. Ladies and gentlemen, to move towards a cashless economy, however, we have to encourage the population to use electronic channels of payment. To accomplish this, under my administration, there will be no taxes on digital payments. The e-levy will therefore be abolished.
He also announced that national service will no longer be mandatory and students will have the option to decide whether to honor it.
To help our youth get jobs, I believe it is time to rethink the concept of the current national service scheme. My government will propose that those who, after completion of their education, can secure jobs will be exempted from national service. National service will no longer be mandatory, and students will have the option to decide whether to do national service or not. This will also encourage companies to go to the campuses to recruit annually. This time they don't go because of national service. Ladies and gentlemen, to prepare our children for the fourth industrial revolution workplace, I will enhance the repositioning of the education system towards STEM, robotics, artificial intelligence, and vocational skills to cope with the demands of the fourth industrial revolution and job creation. My government will make coding and robotics standard in senior high school. The foundation for this is being laid with the provision of laptops to senior high school students very soon. Teachers have already been given the requisite training. Following the senior high school, we will also implement a one student, one laptops policy.
Now, meanwhile, flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Mahama, says no member of the governing New Patriotic Party can be exonerated from Ghana's present economic challenges. According to him, decisions taken collectively by Cabinet has landed the country in the current situation. Mr. Mahama says claims of government officials that their opinions were not taken should not be entertained. The NDC flag bearer was speaking at a town hall meeting at Tamale as part of the Building Ghana tour.
Now all those who contributed to the mess are trying to run away as if they were not part of it. People have begun saying, oh, they were not in charge, they were not listening to them and all that. All of them, they inside. Jack Toronto and all his small brothers, all of them are part of the mess that we're going through. None of them can escape responsibility, none of them. Because they've all been a part of this. They all sat in cabinet together. They all took those decisions together. Anytime they were going to borrow from the Eurobond market, they approved it in cabinet. They sat in cabinet and approved it. In 6 years, you went and borrowed $13.5 billion, and you did nothing with it. So today you can't come and tell us you were not part of it. All of them are part of the mess in which we find ourselves. And Ghanaians are going to send them packing for the hardship that they've inflicted on us, for the debt that they've swallowed us in, and they must go home and go and learn their lesson. NDC is coming back, winning this election, and we have the men and women that are going to restore this country's economy and finances back to a healthy condition.
Now, in the coming months, schools in Osu are in for a positive transformation aimed at reducing air pollution in their surroundings and creating safer spaces for children to play. City engineers currently undergoing innovative training to rethink and reshape road construction methods are at the forefront of this initiative. The ultimate goal is to strategically redesign these roads, minimizing exposure to harmful air pollutants and fostering environments that allow children and neighborhoods to thrive in safety and well-being. Michael Ashali has more in this report.
Air pollution is the second biggest threat to health in Ghana. Exhaust fumes from the transport sector alone is responsible for almost half of Accra's particulate concentrations. The city of Accra is one of the most heavily polluted places in the country. The WHO estimates that more than 28,000 Ghanaians die prematurely every year as a result of air pollution. Children in urban schools often endure the adverse effects of vehicle fumes. Headmaster of Osu Salem School, Emmanuel Taki, knows this very well.
Because the school, because it's not walled, you always find children crossing to get food and all those things. So one, the safety of the children are priority as a educator. So the school is very close to the road, and sometimes or usually you find road cars parking in the school and around the school area.
For stakeholders, their interest is to move from pollution to solution.
I think for now, let's look at these 6 strategies and see which one that we can implement here.
City engineers and technocrats pulled from some of the municipal assemblies in the streets of Accra as members of a workshop organized by Clean Air Fund and Global Designing Cities Initiative. The goal is to assist engineers in discovering innovative approaches to prioritize pedestrian mobility and eliminate pollution within communities. In some countries, vehicle lanes have been repurposed to bicycle lanes. Vehicles in other countries are banned from using certain roads at certain times. In Ghana, 2 schools from Osu will benefit from the initiative. Sponsors of the initiative, Clean Air Fund, believes the project will allow children to play safely in their schools and neighborhoods. Victoria Osu-Teria is an analyst with Clean Air Fund.
On this project, we are looking at designing or redesigning streets into child's play within the Korle-Klottey municipality. In the course of that, we'll be measuring air quality concentration levels. So that will be done before the start of the project, the designing itself, during the designing, and then post the designing. So we'll be able to identify pollution hotspots levels.
Program Manager of GDCI, Hayreton, explained how this will be done.
Do is start with a pilot project, select one school, and see if we can create a safe space for kids to play, removed from air pollution, and then showing the results so that we can implement these kind of projects in different parts of the municipality as well.
So how soon can we see any of those projects come to life?
In the next month, we'll be doing some design projects, so we'll be sharing that with the community as well.
However, Hayreton is expecting some challenges along the way.
There are areas in the neighborhood where there is no sidewalk space and people are forced to walk on the roadbed. We think this creates a road safety risk in addition to air quality issues. So I think there will be some challenges with reallocating that space, how we can take that space and use it for other uses.
Municipal Chief Executive of Korle-Klottey Municipality, Samuel Ni Ajay Teria, pledged to support the initiative to its conclusion.
We can't remove lanes at this stage. At least the parking of the vehicles next to the school is something that we all have to come together and engage the restaurant and the nearby offices. That is not acceptable. The alternative will be maybe you take a Uber and drop and then go in, or use public transport or any other public transport. That will be the alternative for now.
Maybe in the near future, they hope that these areas can be filled with more people than vehicles that pollute all day. Well, all the best to them. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
This story was a collaboration with New Narratives. Funding was provided by the Clean Air Fund. The funder had no say in the content of the story.
Still on the issue of air quality, Accra's air quality has taken a hit as dusty roads propel the city into a concerning low-ranking list, with Ashaiman and Kponkatamanso sharing the burden due to the dusty roads. Residents face environmental and health risk amidst ongoing road construction. The dire situation extends beyond dusty roads and potholes Choked gutters have worsened the problem. Rejoice Semefak Pesu visited the place. Here's her report.
Accra has recently been ranked among major cities with low air quality and dust particles in the atmosphere, having been identified to be a major contributory factor. The dusty roads here, coupled with the ongoing road constructions, have significantly led to air pollution, raising environmental and health concerns for residents. Enoch, a resident in the Pon Katamanso constituency, recounts a unique incident where a pregnant woman unexpectedly went into labor and gave birth in his car due to the bumpy nature of the road.
From Committee 22 Annex to Washington, the nature of our road is unbearable. For this matter, most of my taxi members' cars has gone bad. We cannot ply the road anymore. So we see that passengers, when they are coming, they don't even get a car anymore. Someone has ever given, and it's for the whole day. Because of the blood, I have to go to the watching base it even take me 2 days. And this is unbearable. So we are telling the MPP government that his enemy is the DCE. This is the cause that it make a lot of pregnant women give birth in our car, 21st century. And you see the nakedness of the woman, the next time you cannot even see your face. This is unbearable.
Some residents say the municipal assembly are to blame.
Yeah, from here to this Washington, it's just a 5-minute drive, but you can spend almost an hour on this road. The road is very, very bad. Is to the extent that when you are going to the work, you have to be taking the other road, passing through the diverted road. I personally reported this issue to Assembly several times, especially some of the place when you go to some place down over there. You see that the house, the bathing water, they allow the bathing water on the road. Instead of the Assembly to tackle those issues, the Assembly are not doing anything. At times when you go to Assembly, when you report to the Assembly is expecting you to give them money, to carry them with your car before they come and do their work. This is very terrible. So we are calling the government of the day to tackle this issue before 2024 election. If government doesn't do anything about this situation, we are expecting to, mobilize the area people so that we will vote against the government of the day.
The main road connecting Ashaman to neighboring communities in the Pon Katamanso municipality has long remained untarred. Residents have been recounting their experiences about the impact on their daily lives.
Ashama is in a very deplorable state, and no one to be well responsible. We are only our DC responsible, that he is capable of doing this. You can see they just came and do it just last week, and they should pour water on it. The revenue that Ashama is taking, it's not small revenue. The MMC, we heard that the president has removed some of the MMDCs. So we are urging the president to remove this our artery. It's not doing anything for Ashama. You can see why Ashama are we not in Ghana. Look at the people have closed their stores. People don't know what to do on this road. When you go to the MP, he will say this. The MMDC will say this.
The day these people came here to grade this road, we told them that when they know they cannot do the road, so they should leave it like that for us. Then they say, oh, they are going to do it. So we should give message truly to the government. Always it's just dust. Dust. See how my bikes are. Because of the dust, I can't sit down to work. This is not how my body to be, but it's about the dust. So please, we plead them to come and do Ashama Road for us.
This roadway is one of the major roadway is Ashama here. Apart from this road, you know Ghana Road, if you want to go Kube Chrome, where to Apollonia down, and go come off for Medina Road to Akuse and things, or it be this road. If you know use the main Afarwa Road, it be this road where they use. So, but here is the case. See the road, see the way the road dey. And before if you know be like this way, they be manhole where they here. If it's a say portals, it be lie. It be manhole pan where they here. And we dey suffer for the road. Our gutter self, this one self, it be like a good small. They can't change inside. We ourselves we change inside. Like if you know be so, the flood will go happen for if rain fall. We dey beg there, make the watch. You know, we say NDC and LPP. It be Ghana.
Residents in the two constituencies, disillusionized by the persistently poor road conditions, have threatened to refrain from voting in the upcoming 2024 general elections if the roads remain unfixed.
About the Israel, 1 year my vote to my no road, no vote.
When a main road from Afariwa, Ebesin called Madina, and so she said they are queen. Say, oh man, be quite we are my no votes. Yes, a man.
Rejoice Semefakpesu's report read to you.
The issue of roads in Ghana. Now, 2 non-governmental organizations have joined forces to help the Adaklu districts in the Volta region to attain universal health coverage and improve maternal health. Give Rights Foundation, based in the United States of America, and Friends of Adaklu, based in Ghana, began a pilot project providing mobile ultrasound scan services in the deprived district. There's more in the following report by Fred Kwame Asari.
The Adaklu district is populated with mostly rural dwellers who survive on peasant farming, animal rearing, and hunting. The over 40,000 residents rely on 18 health facilities in the district. With a birth rate of 39.7%, only one of the facilities provides ultrasound services, making it difficult to render complete antenatal care services to pregnant women. However, the Give Right Foundation and Friends of Adaklu have introduced a butterfly handheld ultrasound device service to help ease the burden of pregnant women traveling outside the district to access ultrasound scan services. The device is a new technology that makes it easier to provide ultrasound scan services to pregnant women to get them abreast with the progress of their unborn babies. It is used with a tablet which serves as a display screen for the ultrasound images. A co-founder of the Give Right Foundation, Frederick Heath, explains that the pilot project was in response to the most important need of the district.
With ultrasound, this one clinic will be able to provide maternal scans, prenatal scans, to any tribeswoman that comes and is pregnant. And the benefit of this is that now, for the first time, these thousands of women can receive prenatal care and know when the baby is coming, know if the baby is a boy or a girl, know if the baby is still alive.
Ultrasound project, Aguila Foundation has a very personal significance for me. So I didn't know my mother. And when I was growing up, I asked to know what happened to her. And no one seems to know, understand what actually happened to her. But now I'm realizing that in fact, had we have like a device like this, at least available, accessible for the community or women or pregnant women in rural community, this may have saved my mother's life.
Provision of the service is expected to help the Adaklu district, which is one of the deprived agrarian districts in the Volta region of Ghana, achieve Sustainable Development Goal 4. Midwives and nurses at the Evangelical Presbyterian Mimi Health Center in Adakluwaya were trained on the use of the ultrasound device.
It really helped me to know the fetal presentation, the placenta presentation, the gestational age of the mother, of the pregnancy, and it also helped me to detect abnormalities.
It was all joy when some pregnant women who had the opportunity to receive scan services during the training saw the images of their children, their sex, and their date of delivery for the first time.
BP clinic, to scan.
making a fugman to swim a four, make pana fabric as Canado, why happy idea who Gakeki awaya kumatrile. Scan if you have imagine young V. Daiji Jomeo Chin, I'm thanking him, I share. The make I knew I lim like me, Yadak Bolelo, Alome yet Tomelo, Alulo Tamelacalo.
To enhance service delivery, a gynecologist at the Fountain Medical Services, Dr. Wilson Agbavo, will help with the interpretation of every scan taken with the butterfly handheld ultrasound device. The team educated some members on the introduction of the ultrasound device services and the need for pregnant women to access antenatal care. The butterfly handheld ultrasound device comes as a game changer, with residents hoping it could be extended to other health facilities in the Adaklu district. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Adaklu.
That's ends it for the AM News on the AM show. Now we begin our series of intellectual and informative discourse, starting with a news review. Member of the National Communications Team, of the governing New Patriotic Party, Kweku Jesse, will be joining Benjamin Akakpo to do that. Please stay for that.
To help our youth get jobs, I believe it is time to rethink the concept of the current National Service Scheme. My government will propose that those who, after completion of their education, can secure jobs will be exempted from national service. National service will no longer be mandatory, and students will have the option to decide whether to do national service or not. This will also encourage companies to go to the campuses to recruit annually. This time they don't go because of national service. Ladies and gentlemen, to prepare our children for the fourth industrial revolution workplace, I will enhance the repositioning of the education system towards STEM, robotics, artificial intelligence, and vocational skills to cope with the demands of the fourth industrial revolution and job creation. My government will make coding and robotics standard in senior high school. The foundation for this is being laid with the provision of laptops to senior high school students very soon. Teachers have already been given the requisite training. Following the senior high school, we will also implement a one student, one laptops policy. Under my administration, there will be no taxes on digital payments. The e-levy will therefore be abolished. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Furthermore, to enhance transparency, I will cause to be published online details of all public contracts for public scrutiny. Ladies and gentlemen, in advanced economies, workers are able to easily access credit to purchase basic items such as televisions, cars, and houses. As Vice President, I am like a driver's mate. But by the grace of God, if you make me the president, I will be in the driver's seat with constitutional. seat with constitutionally mandated authority to pursue my vision and my priorities. So what do I want to do in terms of vision and priorities and policies if you give me the opportunity, by the grace of God, to become President of the Republic of Ghana? Ladies and gentlemen, in this regard, I have been engaged in a lot of consultation and doing a lot of thinking in the last few months about the lessons of the last 7 years, as well as my vision and priorities as I seek to become President of the Republic of Ghana. Clearly, the initial conditions that we inherited in 2017 are not the same as will be in 2025. Therefore, my priorities will be different. We have done many good things, and I will be seeking to build upon them. An efficient system of governance will require even fewer ministers. I would have, therefore, no more than 50 ministers and deputy ministers. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about our tax system. To increase government tax revenue, we have to reform and refocus the Ghana Revenue Authority towards broadening the tax base. Unfortunately, the pressure that is placed on GRA staff to collect revenues makes them focus on existing taxpayers. Sometimes they even have to go and sit in people's shops to monitor sales, a process known as invigilation. In fact, many businesses feel harassed by this process and the constant audits of their operations. Introducing solar power will significantly reduce the cost of electricity. The fact that the current residential, commercial, and industrial consumers' power is still neither reliable nor competitive is the testament that the regulatory and administrative measures so far implemented have not fully achieved the objectives we have set for ourselves in dealing with the legacy issues we inherited. Therefore, like the telecom market, we shall work to bring efficiency of markets and expand competition from the more private sector participation in generation and retail.
And there you have it. The vice president, he wants to be president. And that's what he had to share with us. We'll be getting into some of that as we host a member of the national communications team of the governing New Patriotic Party. But before that, of course, this segment always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Now, here's what they're offering you. It's still on. Take advantage of it. Remember, your health is your wealth. If you're a man, they're offering you prostate screening absolutely free. If you're a woman, they're offering you fertility screening gratis. You will pay nothing. Reach out to them at any of their branches here in Accra. They are at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard in Kumasi, Kronomabwe here, behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's also Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama in Zima. Their call lines remain 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But now, the start of the news review. We're joined by a member of the national communications team of the governing New Patriotic Party in the person of Kweku Jesse. He is our guest. Kweku Kweku has also played a role with 1D1F. He's a former head of communications, 1D1F Secretariat and Monitoring and Evaluation Secretariat at the presidency. Kweku, good morning. You would have to unmute.
Good morning, Benji.
Okay, I can hear you now. I hope you're well.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I'm doing very well. Very refreshed. I hope you're also doing well.
I am okay under the circumstances, like I always say. But let's go straight for it. Before we get into the papers, yesterday, many roads led to the University for Professional Studies, Accra, and the other developments that took place. I'd like to find out from you, how convinced were you by the Vice President with the plan that he laid out for Ghana should he become president? How convinced were you?
All right. Thank you very much, and a very good morning to your cherished viewers. Benji, I think I am very refreshed this morning, as I've already stated, because of the engagement His Excellency, the Vice President and the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party had yesterday with the entire populace of this country. In fact, I must state that I was highly convinced because the engagement was really anticipated. It is very good that our leaders and those who are seeking to lead us are engaging the public with respect to their views, their aspirations, their vision. And for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, he has a very daunting, challenge as a candidate, because he is certain to identify himself and carve a niche for himself and create a brand and the confidence in the minds of Ghanaians that he can also do it. He is a man of his own, thoughts and ideas. He understands the problems of Ghanaians. He has the solutions to solving these problems. That is why, the entire engagement was, capturing bold solutions to, the future. So it was very refreshing to see him, engaging Ghanaians, giving us plethora of ideas, understanding the problems of Ghanaians and the economic crisis we find ourselves in. So he has that challenge and he has that task to, set himself apart and then create his brand and let Ghanaians understand who he is, understand what he can do, what he brings to the fore. The second challenge that he's seeking to, cross is to break the eight, lead a political party, the New Patriotic Party, to break the eight. And we know that breaking the eight as a political culture in this country is a bit, difficult. You must go extra mile to be able to break the eight. So it was very, very good that His Excellency, the Vice President, engages the Ghanaian, citizenry. And when you look about how he went about his delivery, first, setting the record straight, about 4, structures or levels of presentation that he went through. First, to set the record straight, and then highlight the achievement of the current, government under His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, for which he is the Vice President, and also try to, compare, indicators and achievement to achievement, identify himself and set his vision out as also another, level of his presentation, and also do personality contest where he positioned himself side by side with the former President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who is also the opposition leader, and then also trying to let us know his vision. So these 4 structures or levels of presentation went through during his presentation, and that was very refreshing because these are the things that Ghanaians want to hear. It is very important that since the election of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama somewhere last year, May. We've seen that he has also made, significant effort to giving Ghanaians what he wants to bring to the table. So now, as people, we are able to, see through the lines, look at all these, solutions, vision, ideas, and then decide. And it is very, very good that as early as February in the electioneering year, Ghanaians are giving these opportunities to look through and then make the right decision, because it is a contest of idea. It is a contest of solutions and then personality. So I am very much convinced of what His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia did yesterday, and he really, really, really touch on the critical issues that face Ghanaians.
Okay. Right. I just wanted to give you ample time to talk about what you felt were the highlights and how convinced you were. I'll tell you bluntly, I wasn't that convinced, but let me explain to you why. And let's go through them one by one. Kwesi Pratt, we all know him, how ardent a supporter he was of the MPP back then, and in the sense of switching over. Remember the days of Kumi Preko, Siemi Preko, Viemi Preko, leading to the Kufuor era. But listening to the Vice President yesterday, it reflected some of what Kwesi Pratt said. It was almost as though the Vice President were throwing the current president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, under the bus, in the sense of, I am my own person. I was a driver's mate. In previous times, we've heard him say an assistant headmaster is not the same as a headmaster, and so this and that. I find that a bit problematic, because this is the same vice president for whom Nanado would often say, Bawumia, and he is in charge of the economic management team. The same Dr. Bawumia came up and listed his economic management team, asking us whether anyone remembered the former economic management team from the NDC. He made himself head, primus inter pares. We are running the show. We are doing it. All of a sudden, oh no, I am not my own man. I have not been my own man because I was not president. But when given the opportunity, then I will, be my own man. I find that woefully, largely, almost hysterically problematic. That's the first point. This whole bit about an optional national service, when I heard it yesterday, I cringed. You know why? Other countries, some other countries, even in Asia, even in the US, at some point, have had military service, where you serve in the military as a form of discipline, as a form of this or that. Other jurisdictions are trying to bring some of these things back so that people serve, to build patriotism, to build nationalism, to ensure that people feel they become an integral part of their nations. We are now saying that based on X or Y, and to make companies this and that, we want to let it be optional so that people don't do it. I don't know, especially the old dogs, those conservative figures. I am not for it. I don't know how that idea was cooked, but I am absolutely not for it because of what it stands for, what it represents, what it has done for some of us. I taught. I speak Spanish, French, Portuguese. I lectured Spanish for an entire year. And some of those people I taught, there were mainly 4 of them. I was teaching them at some point in the day and at some point in the evening. We've remained friends over a decade, way over a decade, till now. We formed that bond because I taught during my national service. So this whole bit about national service being optional or being scrapped, I do not know. Then he talks about the e-levy. Your administration brought the e-levy. Ghanaians kicked against the e-levy, railed against it. At a point in time, we went to Kumasi, I'll never forget. You wouldn't get 1 out of 10 standing for the e-levy. Media railed against it. CSOs railed against it. This administration used its numbers in parliament to bring us the e-levy. Now the same person under whose watch it was brought whether he's a mate, driver's mate, or an assistant headmaster, is coming to tell me he will scrap the e-levy. So I ask, on what basis did you bring it up in the first place? If you knew it wasn't good, why did you bring it up? Now we are threatened with 15% VAT on electricity. I know there are new dynamics on that, but that has also come to the fore. Why? When it had been on our books since 2013, no one had implemented it. Then he says that he will cause to be published public contracts for public scrutiny. Let's start with those who declare their assets. Can we scrutinize that, Mr. Vice President, Dr. Vice President? How about we start from there? Look at the Public Accounts Committee and everything that is happening there. The Cecilia Dapas and the rest, if we could scrutinize what they had given initially, that this was what they had, assets, declaration, and even liabilities, because sometimes the devil is in the liabilities, not in the assets. So someone could have a debt of 1 billion Ghana cedis. You don't know it, but they say these are my assets. But they can steal still to pay for their liabilities, and you wouldn't know because you didn't know they were having debt liabilities. All of these are in there. Now you're telling me you're going to do basically what most major companies across the world do. They publish. You can go online and get the records of the Coca-Colas and the rest. So how is this anything that is novel or something that we could do when even declaration of assets? The media has tried time without number to get certain people and what assets they declared, and still we can't get them, even with the right to information. Okay? I could go on and on. My priorities will be different from the president's. I mean, but just tell me, with these core issues that I have outlined, okay, throwing his own president under the bus, this bit about national service, scrapping the e-levy, and publicly publishing contracts for public scrutiny. For me, I'll be blunt with you, and I've said same about some things that the NDC has said. As far as some of these points are concerned, I am not convinced in the least. Your reactions?
All right, Benji, I think your reaction is fairly understandable, but unfortunately, I beg to differ because it does not really, resonate with many of the feelings that we can see among Ghanaians. Because as I already stated, and I reiterate, I was very much convinced, and I know many Ghanaians were very much convinced because, as I stated, His Excellency, the Vice President, set out his speech by giving the records of the government, the achievement of the government, and that is very, very significant. Whereas at 2016, we had about 800,000, enrollment level of SHS students, but with the advent of the free SHS, we have about 1.4 million Ghanaian going students who at the secondary level have access to education on scholarship basis. And that is very, very significant. He also made us to understand that with the general feeling of improving on our roads networks, we inherited, additional road network of about 4,000 kilometers of roads. But by 2022, the current government has been able to, as it is, added about 11,674 kilometers of roads to our national, road network. When it comes to inflation, because of the economic crisis that was hit globally by, post-COVID, the Ukraine war, and other, significant.
When are you members of the MPP going to spare us this Ukraine, Russia war and COVID-19? You are not the only one that got hit. Remember when the vice president before 2016 said, "Oh, and this happened, and did they jump from all countries and come and hit Ghana?" Do you remember? Do you remember that?
Yes,
it appears you, the politicians, you forget. It didn't hit only Ghana. It hit Togo. I've been in Togo many times last year. It hit Nigeria. I was in Lagos and other places last year. I've toured the sub-region. I've been in different countries. I mean, this didn't hit Ghana differently. I get upset, right? And rightly so, in favor of every Ghanaian. When you keep drumming in, echoing in our ears, COVID-19, you're still charging a COVID-19 levy. The only country, the only one in the entire world, you gave us what you called electricity for free, which was for a specific bracket. I didn't get that. You gave water for free to a specific bracket. You've taxed us beyond whatever. Now you're even thinking of, look at the increments, PURC increments over time. Talking of now this proposed 15% VAT. You've borrowed more than any administration, all administrations put together in this Fourth Republic, even dating to independence. And you want to tell me about COVID-19 and the Russo-Ukrainian war. Which brings me to that other point when he says he's giving us a plethora of, you said he was giving us a plethora of ideas and talking about the economic conditions we find ourselves in. He was talking about that. Who created that economic condition?
So I will touch on that. But you see, Benji, that is a fact. You see, yes, it is very unpalatable fact that sometimes we have to mention some of these, events that have really affected the economy. But you cited Nigeria. Nigeria's government is bent on removing the fuel subsidy because of post-COVID crisis. So almost every country is hit, and we cannot run away from that reality. That being said, as I stated, it is this government that has been able to, by the beginning of this year, increase public salary to 23%, you see, and that is very, very significant. This government has now also put measures down to see the agricultural sector, improving, and now it's expected to grow by 3.5%. And it is doing very well among the sub-region in Africa here, seeing the agricultural sector growing now. Some have been growing in negatives over the period, but Ghana's agricultural sector is, improving. And that is very, very important to highlight. Now, you talk about the national service, and I believe it is a very important, area of his speech that, as you've really highlighted, we need to look at it. Yes, when you currently read the provisions or the statutory provisions that establish the national service, it is a mandatory, service that every individual who moves on from the tertiary institution is expected to contribute his or her quota to national development before he or she is enrolled in, permanent job, environment. And it is right because the framers of the provisions thought that, and as it has been done globally everywhere, our youth and then the next generation should go through certain kind of training, whether vocational, whether service, whether, technical, so that they can be ripe for any engagement whatsoever, professionally or by career-wise. So that is very, very important. And if we should make it mandatory, then that vision is always likely to be met. But you see, the problem as we face as individuals, as a country now, is that the rate of unemployment among the, tertiary students when they graduate is becoming very alarming. It has been on the front burner over the years. So we expect leaders, assistants now to think outside the box and then prefer solutions that are realistic, solutions that are sustainable. Now, what is happening in our job environment is that there are so many institutions, there are so many employers who, because every year they receive national service personnel, jobs that are meant for permanent and professional workers to be done are always relegated or devoted for national service personnel, because at the end of the day, they will get people that they will train for 2 months, and afterwards they will engage them for another 8 months, and then they will go, and then they will come, and they will pay them 700 Ghana cedis, and then they will, they will cut down expenditure and all that. So there is always that gap, and I think this practice has led to we having this huge backlog of unemployed, graduate students. So it was very important that we see our leaders coming out with, out of the box solutions that we all can relate and think they are sustainable. It is mind-boggling that we may have an institution which may request for over 107 national service personnel to do what? When you go to our private universities, when you go to the public sector institutions, the ministries, the minimum that they can take is about 50 NSS personnel every year. And the question is that what work are they doing that we cannot give them decent and sustainable jobs so that, we can reduce unemployment? So for the vice president to say that, no, let's wait and look at this whole national service scheme, and see how best we can make it a bit liberal, make it a bit innovative, so that when graduates are getting ready for the job market, they are not restricted in their thinking and in their can-do spirit that they have to do national service for a whole year before they can even be ready for the job market. We have so many examples of young, graduates who even before they left the universities, they had their own ideas. They had beautiful entrepreneurial skills that they wanted to veer into businesses outright. But because of this mandatory, national service, all these people are to join the fray or the queue. And then when they are now ready for the job market, they might have lost their ideas. They must have lost their, momentum. They must have even lost some of the opportunities that were available before they, entered the job market. So, yes, it is still an early day, kind of discussion. And as the vice president stated, some of these policies will be streamlined into a proper manifesto. But on the face of what has been said to us from yesterday, I think the whole concept of the national service idea, making it liberal, so that those who are very innovative, those who are very entrepreneurial, those who think they can enter into the job market can be readily available. They can do that right after finishing school. And you see, the positive side of this whole policy, Benji, is the fact that when you look at our academic, structure and practices, when you are at the tertiary level, you are allowed to do internship. There are several of our students who every single vacation, they go and do this internship, programs. Now, what it means is that by the time that they finish their 4-year studies in the university, they might have acquired, quite appreciable level of job experience. So if the national service is to actually train many of the graduates to get first-hand information and first-hand experience in, for the job market, then through the internship program, most of them might have acquired that. So why then do you also subject them to another 1 year of, as it is, not, a motivating job, conditions? So we should be able to, allow some of these people who think they are ready to go into the job market. Now, then again, this will also give us the vice president stated, this will also give the opportunity for the employers to go to the various campuses, as it was done in the olden days, to poach and to select those that they think have the requisite, skills and knowledge to come and do their work for them, have decent job, opportunities. I think this is a very fantastic idea. It's quite a departure from, the convention, but it is rightly so. And that is one thing that made me very much convinced about the president, His Excellency, the Vice President's speech yesterday.
Okay.
He wanted to depart from the status quo and set his own narratives so that we can solve problems that face us as people.
All right.
But I thought let's touch on the...
We don't have all the time, unfortunately. So if you're going to conclude on that, I've actually given you a lot of time to explain this. We have to get into the papers. So let me not truncate. Go ahead, wrap, and then we'll get into the papers with the point you were making.
So with the e-levy, I think we have it on record that His Excellency, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, granted several media engagement and stated emphatically, especially at the beginning of the conversation about this whole e-levy, policy. And he stated clearly that he was not in support of that. And we have records to show. Fast forward, the government decided to do that. Now, so there's a conflict between the position of the vice president and then the government, especially vis-a-vis the president and then the finance minister. It is important, and that brings for the discussion of he as the head of, economic management team. Please, Benji, I believe you all could appreciate the fact that, yes, economic management team, and with the number and caliber of persons who were occupying various, roles within that team, one could have ordinarily expected that much will be done by the economic management team. And I am confident that, yes, if we should allow the economic management team to outline what they have done so far,
right,
they have contributed significantly, but the management team is an advisory body to the cabinet. You see, so there is a point where you can advise, you can share your thoughts, but the executive looking at the economic conditions and then what ought to be done at the cabinet level will take decisions, whether contrary to the advice or in furtherance to the advice of the economic management team. But that is why he's availing himself that now I want to be the driver, give me the opportunity, now let me drive, and then let me give you my vision, and then let me solve the problems for us. And I think it is a fair position that the vice president has taken.
All right. Thank you so much for the thoughts that you've espoused. I'll quickly get into the papers, and we had to dwell a lot on this because most of the papers are talking about some of the very matters I've spoken of. Some messages coming through, and I just like some of you to know, especially knowing where some of you are coming from, that when you send in messages insulting me, my skin, it's like a hippo and elephant skin put together. You can insult me day and night. I really don't. Water off a duck's back. That's the way it is for me. Salim Baba, you say, Benjamin thought he was making sense. I'll read all of them. Don't worry. Benjamin thought he was making sense in his review of Dr. Bawumia's speech. Anyway, Obiane na Salim Baba, just as Wonsone Wadjene. So keep it up. Amevo Ferguson says, Mr. Akakpo Benjamin, I'm just happy for your speaking for us, the Ghanaians, and not letting, I don't want to use what you said, but Kweku, play with your intelligence. That's what you say. Wumbe Abdullahi says, the vice president is not a thinker, and these explanations you are giving cannot solve the unemployment issues in Ghana. I can't read the rest of what you say because I feel then it crosses and gets into insults, so I'll not read the rest. Kobe Man says, I'm sad listening to Mr. JC. Ghana is doomed if these people are still hovering around the corridors of the presidency. Charles, watching you live from Germany. Williams Donko says, Bawumia is not telling us that he is still a something, I can't read it, in MPP's government. That is why he is, I can't read the rest of your message, but you are pointing to the driver's mate scenario. Kweku JC, your views are not adding up on this national service issue. Kofi Asempa Otabil sends in that one. And he says, my ward vacated in November 2023 and reopening March 2024. You even pay more than ever. This one says, his vision is far better than the gloomy 24-hour economy. The next one says, so the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana said nothing about NAPCO. Some say he has nothing good to offer. This one asks, Kweku, you and who are convinced? This one says, cheap journalism. Was he the one who introduced the e-levy? Be serious for once, please. Wilberforce, Kwejo Abuaje sends in that one. I told you, good or bad, I'll read your comments. Wilberforce, I have a question for you. I'm sure you've practiced journalism. That's why you can see this one is cheap. Maybe you practice the expensive type. Who passed the e-levy? Whose government? Are you trying to extricate Dr. Bawumia from the e-levy? Different strokes for different folks. Anyway, those are some of the comments that have come through. I'll just take apart a few things, other things in different papers, but the thrust of it is Dr. Bawumia and what he said yesterday. And then I'll wrap with you, Kweku, on 2 points I have for you before you go. The Daily Graphic, government withdraws VAT on electricity. Of course, it's still under consideration for negotiations with Labour. Then Minister tasks Central Region MMDCs to ensure peaceful elections. Book on Otumfuo's Ajiman Prempeh II launched. Then there's 2024 elections. Reinstate indelible ink in electoral process. Parliament's leadership urges the EC. When you go in that paper on the international front, 2 things for consideration. ECOWAS asks Senegal to reverse presidential election delay. I've spoken about this matter time without number, especially this week. ECOWAS will sit down, and allow constitutional coup d'etats to happen. Then When something else happens, and I've said time without number, Kweku, I've seen war. I don't like it. I don't want any such things. But when you sit down and allow these things to happen, and then etija and I say jita, then you come round trying to talk about, and they shouldn't go that way. But what do you do when Alassane Ouattara bent the constitution for a third term? What did you do in other instances? So those are the problems. Then Hamas proposes 135-day Gaza truce with complete Israeli withdrawal. You can check out the details on pages 5 and 9 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. The new finder, Bawumia unveils vision. Government suspends 15% VAT on electricity. GFA submits proposal to government to revive football. That's Kurto Kreku pictured there. The Ghanaian Times Daily Guide all reflect the same things we've done in respect of Dr. Bawumia. So I'm going to leave you with this as we get ready to go. Kweku. 3 issues I want you to digest in 2 minutes maximum. 1, I didn't hear much, especially when the same administration and Ken Ofori-Atta had talked about how much we lose every year to corruption, between 4 and 6 billion. How to tackle corruption, especially on the back of the latest Corruption Perception Index. 2, the economy, apart from digitalization and everything, the thrust of how we can get our economy to be buoyant again and employ people. And 3, maybe just something out of the Daily Graphic, 2024 elections, reinstate indelible ink in electoral process. Parliament's leadership urges the EC. I've spoken to a lot of people in the political space, a lot of academics among others. I don't get why we want to tinker with this in an election as crucial as this one. Indelible ink has been with us since the inception of the Fourth Republic. If you have superior means, why don't you use them in conjunction, not separately, in conjunction with using indelible ink? 3 points for you, quick thoughts, and we're gone.
All right. Thank you very much, Benji. I am very happy you've brought the issue of corruption and how His Excellency, the Vice President and the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, is seeking to tackle corruption. Issues and discussions about corruption is always a heartbeat for Ghanaians because that is one of the best ways we can reserve money, generate money, and then solve our socioeconomic problems. So it is always refreshing to hear leaders or people who are seeking to lead coming out with, practical solutions or measures in tackling corruption. Now, truth be told, Benji, the best way to really tackle corruption, which we have typical models of examples in the Western world, to bringing down corruption or eradicating it, practically, is going the digitalization way. Now, if you're able to minimize in any government or public sector or any dealing whatsoever, minimize human contact and automate processes, then you are likely to succeed in limiting or eradicating.
Kweku, because we are pressed for time. Pardon me, because we are pressed for time. Digitization and digitalization, I do get it. DVLA, passport office, and all of that. That's just the tip of the iceberg. How about dealing with corruption as far as politicians themselves and technocrats are concerned? I think that's where Ghanaians are more focused on, not about ensuring that DVLA, there are no Goro boys or stuff. Politicians themselves. Look, let me tell you. Recently, in recent times, we have heard of, and believe you me, if you want evidence, I can give you. People who were in the MPP's parliamentary primaries recently have shared with us how they spent millions of cedis and this and that. I'll never mention any name, okay? But you ask yourself, when you look at the trajectory of these people, how did they get those kinds of money? That's what we're talking about. Spare us the DVLA and digitization. Those ones we know. Politicians and technocrats, that's where we're dealing with. Corruption in those circles and contracts and all of that. That's what we want to hear. Go ahead, Kweku.
Okay, so Benji, yes, I think it is right to place the effort of fighting corruption at the doorsteps of the political leaders. But Benji, it is also important that our public sector is also infested with so many corrupt practices. Corruption is a national problem. at any level of our economic engagement, at any level of our society, there is an iota of corrupt practice. So yes, we will try and situate it within the political context. But if you want to really have a holistic discussion about corruption, then we should be able to look at the wider picture. That is what I can say. But yes, I remember that the act is almost being passed. It is now before Parliament as a bill, the Public Service Workers, declaration, where they are expected to declare. Before then, we have in existence, a law that enshrines or what is the name, enforces the public sector's political appointees, especially ministers, to declare their assets. We should be able to impress on every appointee to declare. The case of Cecilia Dapa brings to light a declaration of assets and what you've been able to make when given the opportunity as a minister, and then the sources of your, your funds and your riches.
Okay, all right. I think our time has been exhausted. I'm being prompted, so I'll give you 20 seconds, bro. Just wrap quickly, and then we can go.
Okay, so Benji, as I stated earlier, public service, the Public Accounts Committee is doing very, very well with respect to scrutinizing public service workers and their institutions as to how best they can do what is right, not, breeding corruption. We've seen the committee asking the law enforcement agencies to take, public service workers on. And that is one thing that must be commended. It is very, very good. Then again, I repeat that digitalization is the best way to solving the problems of corruption, fighting corruption head on. And then once we are able to entrust the leadership into the hands of His Excellency the Vice President, with his prowess in digitalization, will be able to, remove human factor for most of our public engagement and thereby reduce corrupt practices in our public sector.
Thank you, Kweku. God knows, Charles says, so are they confirming to us that the EMT and Bawumia advised the government and the government didn't listen? Even if that were the case, the same team or people that didn't listen to his advice are the same people cheering him in the auditorium. The value will be the same. And impress upon people to declare assets, you said, Kweku. We're not going to banter on this, but I was just wondering, is that not the law? Are we now going to impress on people to declare assets? Anyway, that's how we cap off. No responses. We may have that later. That's how we cap off the news review this morning. Lest I forget, let me quickly do this. Very affable gentleman, wonderful. He's a member of our data research team. I'm talking about Anthony Menu. Time without number, a few times here and there. He's sorted me out, made sure that I could get my blunt thoughts, among others, on the screen. Anthony Menu, you are one wonderful person. Happy birthday to you. I celebrate you. The team celebrates you. Anthony Menu, happy birthday to you. Right before we get into sports and talk about Nigeria beating South Africa on penalties and the Ivorians as well going past the DR Congo team. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helping us bring you this segment every weekday. They are offering you today and always, at least as far as time will allow, they are offering you prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for free if you're a woman. You can reach them here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronumabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex, the Stakrade Energy State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswe and Siaman Zama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. And to all of you who shared your messages to say this morning, a lot of you watching online, we're grateful. Sports up next.
Good morning. Let's do sports now on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. We start at the press conference of the Ghana AFU, where President Getio Kreku acknowledged the decline of the Black Stars and called for a collective effort to improve the state of Ghana football. According to him, the last few weeks have been a reflective period of the FA for the FA, and they are determined to right the wrongs and get Ghana back at the very top of the sport.
Talking about Ghana football, we've spoken about coast football, we've spoken about girls football, we've spoken about beach soccer futsal, we've spoken about the development and investment needs of our top tier leagues, we've spoken about the needs for investment in infrastructure, the introduction of our BAS strategy, etc., etc. That should tell all of us here that the reflective period has taught us big lessons. We have engaged a lot, and we accept where we have been wrong. The notes that I've espoused here speaks to this fact. The reflective period has also emboldened us to take very, very decisive decisions that would ensure, to quote the words of the Speaker of Parliament, the Black Stars and our national teams must rise from the ashes of setbacks. And we are very committed towards this. What we have said here is a testament of our commitment towards fixing the problems. I know all of us love our Black Stars, and our Black Stars players do love all of us. And all of us are committed towards fixing the problems with the Black Stars. Indeed, that journey has already started with a search for a new trainer for our Black Stars. When we find the new trainer, it is our collective decision and determination to stay for a long haul with a new set of trainers for our Black Stars and for all our national teams. I know, and we know, that all of us, including King Eben, want our Black Queens to win, our princesses to win, our maidens to win, our starlets to win, our damsels to win. How to win is what we have espoused here. Investments, 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 and keeping the way and taking decisive decisions. We love our Black Stars, we love our Black Queens, we love our football. We want our football to rise from the ashes.
Some journalists at the press conference also shared their thoughts about the entire event. They spoke to Love FM's Stephen Zando.
I would say I was a little bit impressed with what the FA president said and what happened. It's like he addressed a lot of concerns of Ghanaians, because they feel the Black Stars, after failing especially, he talked about a lot of things, but the focus was on the Black Stars, because in recent times the Black Stars performance when it comes to major competitions and the African Cup of Nations has been very poor. So a lot of the journalists here had problems with how we were going to put things together to get the Black Stars back on track like it used to be. The countries we are looking at using local based players and performing in the AFCON ongoing in Cote d'Ivoire, like South Africa especially, it is because they have a very strong league. They have invested in the league very well. They have clubs that are big and performing in Africa, Mamelodi Sundowns. That is how come they are doing it with the local based players. But we ask ourselves, do our local based players have that kind of quality before they are going to get to that level? We would have to invest in our league.
Well, it's nice that they are trying to open up to the media, but I believe they did not really answer the questions as much as I wanted. They were just dancing around the questions, and well, let's see. But I wasn't so much impressed. I was expecting a more open, honest, a section where they are going to break the issues down so that we can take advantage to explain it to our listeners, which is the public. But one way or the other, they were dodging the bullet, and I think the media asked the right questions, but their answers were more covered, were not the best.
I will not say my total expectations were met.
But I think it has been a good exercise. At least some of us will leave here with some clarity on some bordering questions that we needed to ask the FA, and they've clarified a few things. Yes, you will not get 100% expectations being met at events like this, because there were some key questions that the answers were either evasive or weren't answered at all. So yeah, I think I will give the exercise around 65-70% in terms of my expectations, the questions that were answered and the relevant answers that were provided by the executive committee.
Whatever it is, I think that I am looking at this whole exercise in terms of the general atmosphere and mood. The GFA feel that they need to engage the media more, because the media has become the bridge between the public and then the football authority. Half of the time there is either disinformation, misinformation, or lapses and gaps in information when it has to do with the various national teams in particular.
One of the national teams who will be in action in the coming weeks is Ghana's under-20 side, the Black Satellites. Now they will feature in the football competition at the Africa Games, which begins on March 8. The team has been paired with Benin, Congo, and the Gambia in Group A. Now, Ghana's head coach Desmond Ofe, he says his side are unfazed about their opponents. Now, the Accra Sports Stadium is one of the venues to host the football competition, but currently in a deplorable state. We brought the state of the facility for you yesterday in a report done by my colleague Achu Tamaklu. Now, joining me on Zoom, on phone actually, is Frank Boyan. He is an expert employed to work on the pitch. Mr. Frank, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, please, how come the facility at the moment looks more or less like a farm with about 30 days or so left for the games to begin?
Okay, let me wish you Happy New Year and your listeners.
Yeah.
We've recently been engaged to bring the pitch to FIFA and US CAF standards. So work is ongoing. I think, the league stopped recently. For us...
Mr. Frank, can you reposition yourself? We are struggling to hear you clearly.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Continue.
Yeah, I said work recently started on the pitch. So we have raked the pitch, we have mowed the pitch. The pitch has been fertilized. I think there was a discussion about mushrooms also on the pitch, which is a fungal disease. It's the preparatory work for that have started so that the pitch can be sprayed with the fungicide. So there's no real cause for alarm. I think all the necessary work are going on the pitch. Aeration has been done, fertilization has been done. So all these things will come into fruition, I'm sure, within the next 2 weeks. When you come to our castle, then you will see a complete different pitch. And I want to assure yourself and the nation that the job given to us, bring our technology, myself and my team, we are working previously to work. We've been working 7 days a week to make sure that we can meet the target, which is end of this month.
Okay, so Mr. Frank, how soon will it be ready? Because we have about 29 days left for the games to begin.
Once the pitch is fertilized, all the basic work has been done. The raking, the aeration. The aeration is putting in oxygen into the soil so that the carbon dioxide, the compaction, with the various amount of games that have been played on the pitch. Now the pitch has been totally given to us and it's been rested and the work is going on. We have a number of workers here sleeping, even here at the site. We are sleeping here. We don't go home. So we are working around the clock to make sure that we achieve the goal. It's in the interest of all of us, and I really appreciate your concern that you have raised, and we have taken it in good faith, and we'll work extremely hard to make sure that there's no disgrace.
Okay. Frank Boyan, thank you very much for your time. Frank Boyan is a pitch expert employed to work on the Accra Sports Stadium. And of course, we'll do our jobs. We are going to follow up on this issue to its conclusion. Now, let's talk about the AFCON. And the host and win mantra is on for Ivory Coast. They secured a 1-0 win over DR Congo to qualify for the finals of the tournament. The Elephants will now face the Super Eagles of Nigeria who beat South Africa 4-2 on penalties after a 1-1 draw in regulation time.
Welcome back on the AM show. We get into the big stories now. And first off, we're going to be contemplating, yes, as you can see behind me, Bawumia's case for the presidency, his plan, as he put it out yesterday at the University for Professional Studies, Accra, among other things that we're going to be dilating on, including the 15% on VAT that now has been stalled for some more deliberation to be done on. But before I get to my guests, before we contemplate what exactly it is that their thoughts are on the Vice President's, release, if you like, let's walk through some of what he said and find out. We'll be sharing this with you. We'd love for you to get on board, get on Joy News on Facebook, and let's know what your thinking is on the different matters the Vice President brought to bear. But let's start from here. So here we go. Bawumia's role as chairman of the economic management team. Yeah. As a subcommittee, that is the EMT to cabinet, we do not have any decision-making powers. But I am very proud of the quality of advice we have been providing over the years to cabinet. That's what the vice president said. As a subcommittee to cabinet, that is the economic management team. Mind you, he is head of the economic management team. We do not have any decision-making powers, any. But I am very proud of the quality of advice we have been providing over the years to cabinet. My only concern there, if he knew that, why in the past was he referencing the EMT and talking about what it could or could not do? And maybe even more, with the president himself, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, praising him for being the repository of all economic knowledge and what he's brought to bear on the economy. What does all of that mean? Well, so that's the first bit. Then we get into this one, and we're addressing things he said, okay? As vice president, I am like a driver's mate. Mate, you know, or not Jessica. Yeah. You understand? He's not the one driving. He's not the one at the helm of affairs. He's not holding the steering. He's merely collecting the money and all of that. That's how he depicts himself. I've heard him talk about the fact that he can be likened to an assistant headmaster, not the actual headmaster. If you make me president, I will be in the driver's seat. So that's what he's telling us as Ghanaians. Then again, he says, in respect of tax measures, government's commitment to the IMF versus his proposal, right? So proposed tax reforms for 2024, we're looking at the revision and expansion of taxes on gambling revenue. His proposal, elimination of betting tax. You know that nowadays you bet, you get your returns. Apart from other taxes, a 10% will be taken out of it as tax, okay? 10% component, among other things. And I don't bet. I've never had an interest in betting, but I know people who do, and they shared some of the dynamics with me and how much goes into taxes. Then, removal of selected VAT exemptions, including 15% VAT on electricity. His proposal, elimination on VAT on electricity if it is still on the books. If it is still on the books. We do know that supposedly cabinet has met. Now we're being told there's going to be further engagement on that vis-a-vis labor unions and the threat to demonstrate on February the 13th on the back of same. Then, introduction of the emission tax and the plastic and packaging tax. For him, what's he proposing? Elimination of the emissions tax as well. But let's stay on tax measures. He says, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia says, he's going to eliminate the e-levy. The same e-levy that his administration brought to bear with him as head of the economic management team. With all the struggle that Ghanaians went through, civil society, media, ordinary Ghanaians railing against it, he says he's going to abolish it. The only question, and that's what I had for Kweku JC this morning, I feel if it were bad in the first place, why would you bring it up only to reverse it? Why put us through all of that. But these are questions I'll be putting to my guests when we get to them. Elimination of VAT on exploration services, no more import duty on solar panels, tax incentives will be provided for film producers and musicians. I like this though, I must admit. No more import duty on solar panels because, I mean, solar is one of the ways to go. And I know of a lot of entities going that way. Though, technically, the prices of panels have been reducing globally. Okay? It's not as though it were a novel thing we're doing here. If you look at 3-5 years ago, and I do this because I engage a certain entity that deals in solar panels and installation and everything. So I know, right? It's been going down for years, and it's an alternative, especially owing to the high cost of electricity, among others. So I have some agreement on that. I think it's a step in the right direction. Tax incentives will be provided for film producers and musicians, and a flat tax of a percentage of income for individuals and SMEs with appropriate exemption thresholds set to protect the poor. The question is, who will fit that category? How many people will be involved? And how will it be streamlined so that it's not politicized? Now, in addition, a tax amnesty up to a certain year to individuals and businesses for failures to file taxes in previous years. So some amnesty will be given, after which you have to do the right thing. There will be no manual or paper filing of taxes from 2025. Okay. Any audits by the GRA would be done electronically and facelessly by the GRA, and no entity would be audited more than once in 5 years unless anomalies are detected. Now, in terms of the size of government, this is where it gets interesting because you have the former president talking about no more than 60, including all the others, deputies, regional ministers, and the rest. Dr. Bawumia says, I would have no more than 50 ministers and deputy ministers. That's what he says. And then, in terms of major policy proposals, here I vehemently disagree. And I've made that point already in the course of the news review. If you missed it, you can grab it, but I'll still be here talking about it. National service will no longer be mandatory. He says, starting an individualized credit scoring this year for easier access to credit at lower interest rates. This credit scoring bit is something that I have personally deliberated on with some people in certain quarters about credit scores and how that could add on to you. But in his personal proposal, we'll have a look at how he wants to implement this and what it would mean. So starting an individualized credit scoring this year for easy access to credit at lower interest rates. Then amend Article 87 of the 1992 Constitution and NDPC or PNDC Act, is it the NDPC Act, Act 479, to mandate the alignment of political manifestos, it's actually NDPC, to agreed broad contours in specific sectors. I would like to see really how this will be executed, especially in light of what we've seen on our political terrain with NDC coming in, NPP coming in, and it's never a national plan. It's a party plan. Party plan. I would like to see how he means to institute this. But then, other proposals amend the 1992 Constitution with key emphasis on ex gratia, the rights of dual citizens, election of MMDCEs, and reducing the power of the president. These are things that I've spoken about time without number. We have a president who is too powerful, overweening, overbearing, appointing everybody. And that in itself is a recipe for corruption. And we see it in our system. Amend the 1992 Constitution with key emphasis on ex gratia. I don't know, because at the same time, I've heard talk from the same vice presidents in the past about this whole bit about amending the Constitution and what it means, and we don't need a whole-scale or wholesale amendment. Yeah, we're talking about amendments here. Ex gratia. You know, it's interesting. These very people benefit from it in the past and all that, and then there's talk about we still have ex gratia on our books. Rights of dual citizens. Of course, we also remember cases that have come through in recent times, especially to do with the Asin case, Jachikwesen, and that election there. Then the election of MMDCs and reducing the power of the president. Then continuation and improvement of free SHS One student, one laptop policy for tertiary students through the provision of a zero-interest loan. Okay? My interest there, what we've already done with the teachers and how that fared, the distribution of laptops to teachers. How did that go? And now we're talking about one student, one laptop. Well, let's see. Should he be given the nod? Let's see how it goes. So, that's it. His case for becoming president of Ghana. What do you think? I have my take. I have said, and I will repeat, I take no prisoners. I will repeat, listening to the vice president, I was not convinced. But were you convinced? Why were you convinced? What are the parameters you're using? What is your measuring rod? Well, let's hear from our guests joining the conversation, and we'd love to hear from you as well. At some point, we'll activate the phone lines and take your thoughts. But joining us for this discussion, Dr. Saad Iddrisu is an economist, Louisiana Economic Development. He joins the conversation. We'll have others joining the conversation moving forward. Dr. Iddrisu, thank you for joining. Let's start with your underlying fundamental analysis of yesterday's presentation by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Thank you. Good morning to you as well as your listeners as whole. Yesterday, with regards to the online, because being far away, we were on Facebook, the signal was kind of weak. I watched it on your. I had to keep switching to different stations, whether it was the whole recording or anything else. So probably next time there's a lecture, they really work on that to make sure that people will be able to get good signal to watch it. And again, I'll say is that, I mean, if you observe Bawumia since his introduction into politics, was nominated as a mate. I think one that...
Did you just say since he was nominated as a mate? Did you just say that?
I mean, since he was picked up as a running mate.
Okay, all right.
I mean, one thing I do observe is that he's been very consistent with his speeches and his economic lectures. I wouldn't say prior to that we didn't have that much, even though we had it, but it wasn't as popular as he is doing it right now. So he's been able to gain the media attention. Whenever he speaks, it's like the next day becomes trending topics for probably like a week. That is very commendable, I must say. It doesn't matter whether he's speaking the truth or not, but the fact that he's able to even get media attention is something that every politician should always aspire for. But coming to the lecture, the question is it just another rhetoric or we'll say a game changer? From my point of view, I would say it's just another rhetoric because let me just take you through the economic data before we even come to his own policies that he was outlining. If you look at the economic data to just a certain point in the lecture, I was just probably laughing in my head and wondering how the NDC is going to react because the NDC or the opposition, they should rather be putting out their economic figures to let Ghanaians know that Bawumia is massaging some of these figures. Because if you look at the current economic figures with real GDP growth, we are currently declining. So how do you say the economy is doing well and you have performed better than we recorded in 2016? As of 2023 Q1, if you had a real GDP of 4.4%, Q2, it declined to 3.2%. Q3, it further declined to 2.1%. How do you describe such an economy as performing good enough? And that is excluding oil. If you come to including oil, it's the same thing. Q1, 2023, it was 3.3%. Q2, it declined to 3.2%. Q3, it further declined to 2.0%. Now, again, how do you say that with an inflation of 23.2% as of December 2023 is better than the inflation we recorded in 2016 December, which was 15.4%. How do you make such comparison and analysis to say that your economy is better than the previous? And look at food inflation. As of December 2023, food inflation was 28.7%. Now go back to December 2016, food inflation was 9.7%. So compare these two periods. Just looking at this, how do you say that 2023 Ghanaians are better off than they were in 2016 when all the economic indicators are showing otherwise? Look at it again, lending rate. Businesses are currently complaining in 2023 and 2024 because of the borrowing rate. As at December 2023, and this data that I'm reading, they are all from Bank of Ghana. Anyone interested could just go to Bank of Ghana and pull it up. As at November 2016, average lending rate was 32%. So businesses were able to borrow at this rate, averagely. Now, fast forward to 2023.
And before you fast forward, let me just do this. Permit me, I'll come back to you, Dr. Saad Iddrisu. Let me also acknowledge the presence of Eko Asifua, Member of Parliament for Otafu, who recently got the nod in the latest MPP primaries. Eko, good morning to you. All right, we'll try to reconnect with him. Back to you, Dr. Saad Iddrisu.
So as at December 2023, the average lending rate, that's the credit market rate, is now 33.75. So how do you compare 33.75% to 2016 figure of 32%? And remember that with interest rates and all that, even 1% rise in interest rate, it's a cost to businesses when they are borrowed. So I really don't know which economic figures Dr. Bawumia was quoting to say that the economy right now is better than the economy we had in 2016. Even the agriculture sector that he was talking of. Since this quarter, agriculture sector has been on decline. From quarter 1 all the way to quarter 3, it's been declining from 6.4 to 6.0 to 5.9. And by quarter 4, when it comes out, definitely it's still going to record a further decline. How do you say such a sector is performing? Industry, we don't even talk because industry is growing at negative. Quarter 1, 2023, quarter 1, negative 2.6. Quarter 2, negative 1.8. Quarter 3, negative 4.3. So I was really a bit surprised, like how he was so excited and just talking as if, you know, we should award the MPP a gold of medals and award him a gold of medals. When all these indicators are pointing that the economy was better off, businesses were better off in 2016 than they are currently. Even your policy rate currently, December 2023, is 30%. Compare that to 2016, December, when it was 25.5%. So in all honesty, I would say that it's actually the NDC and John Mahama, they rather need to do an economic lecture to point out all these economic indicators. Because like if you keep letting one sector go, Ghanaians will begin to believe that. Meanwhile, they are all not true, according to the Bank of Ghana own data.
Right.
Anyone could check it. It's called, a bunch of data, but you could look through summary of economic and financial as well as other reports. They are all available on the Bank of Ghana website.
All right. So,
look through it.
Dr. Iddrisu, we'll get into those details shortly. But let me also take the starting comments of Eko Asifua. He is Member of Parliament for Otafu. Eko, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
You sound rather low. I'm struggling to hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Ben, I can hear you.
Okay. Did you ask how I was doing? Is that what you were asking?
Yes.
Okay. I'm okay under the circumstances. I hope you're well too.
Well, I'm hell and hearty, Ben.
All right. What do you make of the Vice President's delivery yesterday? And I'm asking for points on interesting areas that you felt were topical, germane to what our national life is, before we get into the real stuff. But what fundamentally did you grasp or take away from the speech yesterday?
Well, let me say a very good morning to your cherished viewers and other discussants. I must say it portrays or shows some glimpses of hope for us as Ghanaians, especially the youth of Ghana. What His Excellency the Vice President yesterday sought to do was a demonstration of where we are coming from as a nation, one, and two, what he has been able to do by accounting for his stewardship as a Vice President of of the Republic of Ghana. And 3, laying down his vision for the people of Ghana when he is given an opportunity to be the president of the Republic, i.e. things that he seeks to embark upon from 2025 and beyond. So for me, the indication I got was that it was clear that he has something under his sleeve that he wants to give to the people of Ghana in terms of his own vision. You know, he was very bold to let the people of Ghana know that he has his own vision when he is given the opportunity to be the president of the Republic. And that is how come there were certain policies under this current regime that he felt or he thinks that when it is his administration, he's going to do it differently. When you look at his policy that he's going to abolish e-levy, this is something that from 2019, 20, 21, 22, thereabouts, it became topical as to how government can raise revenue, or if you like, additional revenue, to be able to fund the numerous government policies of this country. One may ask, but His Excellency the Vice President has been part of this government and one way or the other has been supporting this particular policy. Now, the answer is very simple. The circumstances that brought about the implementation of the e-levy clearly cannot be the same circumstances from 2025 and beyond, because at the time, because of the introduction of COVID and other challenges that we faced as a nation, we needed that e-levy to be able to make sure that government can fund the numerous projects that we had. Now, 2025 and beyond, government has been able to make sure that there is a revitalization or a transformation of the economy, and for that matter, we may not necessarily need the e-levy so that businesses can have some space to be able to expand. That is very critical. 2, His Excellency talks about how we can increase, if you like, bring about a robust infrastructure, and he seeks to embark on this robust infrastructure by making sure that there is a pivotal, if you like, a big amount
so
of
Eko, these are supposed to be inaugural comments. We've not got into the thick of things yet. I just wanted your brief comments on a number of matters. We are not getting into the nitty-gritty, e-levy and these other matters. We'll get to them and tear them apart, if you don't mind. But you go ahead. I just want you to summarize, because we'll have ample time to get into that.
To know that there were critical points that was made that...
Trust me, Eko, I know. We've gone through the whole document, so I know. But you go ahead.
That's okay. So my initial comment will be that, for me, it brings about some glimpses of hope for us as a nation, and especially the youth. And I believe that His Excellency, the President, the Vice President, has shown that indeed when given the mantle as the President of the Republic, he will be able to transform this nation from where it is today, especially coming from the challenges that we face as a nation.
Do hold for me. Let's head now to Kumasi. We have Love FM's Nanaya Ojima, who will be engaging Beatrice Annan, communications team member of the opposition, NDC, on this and other developments. Nanaya, over to you.
Yeah, good morning, Benjamin. Presently, the Building Ghana tour of the NDC is in the Ashanti region, Kumasi to be specific. Already, John Dramani Mahama has done Kumasi. He has held series of the Building Ghana tour in the Ashanti region. But now he's transiting. You know, not long ago, he completed the northern region, and before northern region, he had done the upper east. So presently, he's in the Ashanti region, transiting into other regions. So, but yesterday, the members of the Building Ghana tour had the opportunity to listen in on what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia had to say. I have with me the communication team member of the NDC, and she's in the person of Beatrice Annan. and we'll be having conversation on yesterday's lecture by Dr. Bawumia and the position of the team on that. Lawyer, good morning and welcome to join us.
Good morning, Nana, and I'm happy to be here.
Let's start with the Building Ghana tour. Now you are on transit in the Ashanti region, and I understand that there will be some engagement in the region for a day or two. What are these engagements?
Okay, so first of all, President Mahama has been invited by the Assemblies of God Church. They say it's called Region B, to honor their annual church event. And so this morning, from here, we'll be going to that event. And then we would also pay a courtesy call on Menshia. And then from there, we would head and meet Gao in the Ashanti region. And that will be it. And we move back to Accra to continue Greater Accra with the Building Ghana tour.
So you've been recording the opinions of the people when it comes to the Building Ghana tour. What is the impression that you are getting from the notes you've been taking?
Okay, so the impression I am getting is that more than ever, the lives of people have become worse. The living conditions of people have deteriorated. The businesses of people have been affected. And everywhere we have gone to, it is one chorus that things are getting worse, that many people do not have hope that things will get better. And it's not just the sentiment of the people, but also the indicators show that we are not doing well, we are not in the good place, that we are in a mess, that more than ever, people have lost their businesses, they have lost their livelihood, they have lost their farms to Galamsey, they have lost almost everything they were building on. Young people don't even have hope that if they can't find white-collar jobs, they can even have farms or go into other informal sector, because even those in the informal sector are gradually being driven away by the high cost of living everywhere we went. And you have been on the trip with us. Everywhere we went, dressmakers, carpenters, lawyers, shoemakers, drivers, all interest groups are saying that our lives have become worse off. And we think that it's something that is a bit sad, but we need to take seriously.
Let's talk about job creation. That's where you just ended. Now, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is claiming that over 2 million jobs have been created under the present administration. Are you saying that these numbers cannot be taken as he puts it?
I think that Dr. Bawumia's claim about job creation tells me that this government is not committed to do anything about the current state of our economy and the situation of the many young people. You know, it is fraught with so much lies that I don't know why a vice president will want to descend that low. And let me tell you why I'm saying this. First of all, in February 2021, when the minister designates for employment and labor relations appeared before the vetting committee of parliament, he did mention that the government has created 3 million jobs. Then at a launch in Sunyani at the Ghana Job Fair, he also mentioned that the government has created 5.3 million jobs. Dr. Bawumia himself on 27th April 2023 said that they have created 2.2 million, in excess of 2.2 million jobs. And then yesterday he says that they've created 2.1 million jobs. The inconsistency tells you that government is just churning out data, because it's not possible that you would create this number of jobs and the rate of unemployment will increase from 8% to 13.9%, which is almost a 14%.
Right. So
most importantly, Nana, in the 2021 population census, the Ghana Statistical Service says that Ghanaians who were living without jobs, we had 1.9, a little over 1.9 million. So if you're a government that you've created 1.9 million, I mean 2.2 million jobs to a population that over 1.9 people of working age cannot find job, then we shouldn't have, in fact, we should even have people who are overemployed. So I think that for any politician, and no mean a politician, like the vice president and the flag bearer, to play with the lives and livelihoods of people by just churning out statistics. He never gave you the breakdown of these jobs. He just made a vague statement. We've created 2.2 million jobs. And that's very sad. And it tells you that in the coming years, or the months left for the NPP to exit power, they have no strategy to create more employment.
All right. So for want of time, we'll have to keep answers to some of these areas that we'll be tackling very short. Now, the vice president also spoke about abolishing some taxes that he believes are not relevant. Already, the former president has been speaking about VAT on electricity that the government is hoping to introduce. The emission tax, he also has some issues to say about some of the taxes. Already on the grounds, there are some people who has asked him to do away with e-levy and also the betting tax. Now the flag bearer of the NPP is also saying that he will look at these taxes and if possible do away with all of them. What is the position of the team on this?
I think that we must begin to speak to the vice president to stop undermining our intelligence. I don't know, and genuinely devoid of partisanship, I think everything is not right with the NPP. I think that either they have so much money that they do not understand the reality. Because how is it that a vice president who says that as a chairman of the economic management team, he's proud of the quality of advice he's given to his government, and this advice includes the introduction of the e-levy, the emission tax, the VAT on electricity, come to say that all of a sudden I'm not part of the mess for some reasons? You know what, my boss is so useless, for want of a better expression. When you give me the opportunity, I would correct the mess of my boss, whom I advise and whom he took my advice. I mean, it's as if the NPP assumed that we don't think, we don't reason, let's just throw anything, let's have the debate. It doesn't matter the quality of the debate, let's just go on. I think that is a shame, and I think many Ghanaians should join us to call the vice president out. Because for a point, I thought, is the vice president hallucinating? Or some way, somehow, what is happening? You were part of the government. We never heard him speak about the e-levy until yesterday because he wanted to be president. We never heard him talk about the VAT, the emission. And it is not only these three VATs. Under this government, I have tabulated more than 50 different taxes that this government has imposed. So why are you taking out 4? Especially when he came to power on the back of moving this economy from taxation to production. Today, you've imposed 50 taxes. You want to, take 4 out when you come to. It doesn't make sense.
So the flag bearer of the NDC has also been speaking about cutting government expenditure. Now, there's a proposal that the ministers will be limited to 50. I think this is laudable.
I think that, and this is where we have to salute President John Mahama. Listening to Dr. Bawumia's speech yesterday, you could see that the man wants to mimic President Mahama. He's following in the footsteps of President Mahama. And I think that we should be encouraging more of these debates. And I will personally encourage President Mahama to be bringing out these policies, because this is a person that was part of a government that appointed 120 ministers at a point. When did he all of a sudden realize that you could actually manage this country with 50 ministers? This is a government, this is a man that his father-in-law, the wise father, is an ambassador. He's practicing family and friends. His brother-in-law is a CEO or coordinator or whatever of NADMO. His own brother is a technical advisor to the Minister of Interior. Would these people be part of the 50 or what? I think that we have come a long way as a nation where everybody should not give politicians a bad name, where we should not just say things because we want to be heard. I think our country is in a very sad state. We are in a situation where politicians cannot afford to do politics as usual. And I'll call on every Ghanaian to begin to hold leaders accountable. You cannot do one thing, and when you need more power, you come and say that everything I've done in the past is wrong, and so you vote for me, and I hope to correct the wrongs.
Thank you very much. So in the coming days, all journalists on the Building Ghana tour are expectant of the response that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia will be getting from the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama. We will still be with the team and continue to bring updates to viewers on Joy News. From Kumasi for Joy News, my name is Nana Yaujima.
So from Kumasi in the Ashanti region, we come back. That was Nana Yaujima interacting with Beatrice Annan. She's with the communications team of the NDC. I'll come to you, Dr. Saad Iddrisu, as we get into core areas of what Dr. Bawumia said yesterday. He talks about being a driver's mate. He says he was the driver's mate, and now he's in the driving seat. When given the opportunity, he will be in the driving seat, and there will be a difference in what he's been able to deliver. He also talks about an optional national service and what that would mean in terms of companies and others. Whilst other countries, of course, jurisdictions are continuing full steam. Look at South Korea, military training with national service. And then he says, I want to bring them up issue by issue. I'm laying three down your way. He talks about causing to be published contracts, basically. We've seen the PPA issues, we've seen the procurement issues. He says he will cause to be published those contracts for public scrutiny. I say that if we're going to do any such thing, then we should start now with declaration of assets and knowing people's assets and liabilities, which even the media has found very difficult to get to in terms of what people have declared by way of their assets and liabilities. What are your reactions to these before we move on to other matters?
I think the first point to make is that I don't think we have a driver's mate in Ghana. I would say we have 4 drivers in Ghana, which is the president. In the absence of the president, the vice president could act as the president. So if the president travels even for a week...
Dr. Saad, I don't know why, for some reason, I can't hear you so well. Can we do this again?
Is it okay now?
It's still low. You started well and then... But you go ahead. Go ahead.
Is it better now?
It's somewhat better. Go ahead.
Yes. I was saying that we have four presidents in Ghana. Let me put it that way. If the president is not there, the vice president has the authority to act as the president. So if the president travels even for a week, the vice president will make laws or sign anything on behalf of the president because he is acting. In the absence of the vice president, we have the Speaker of Parliament, who is also acting as the president. Then it comes to the Chief Justice. So where is the driver mate coming in? It appears the vice president from the onset wasn't aware of his powers, let me put it that way. And as to whether it is in relation to only he, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, or it has been the case for all vice presidents, I think that is something that as a country, probably we have to look at. If it is in relation to all vice presidents, then we should be looking at constitutional amendments to actually redefine the role of the vice president. But if it is just limited to he as a vice president, then I strongly believe that he underestimated his powers as a vice president. And if you come to the second point, which is the national service, I totally disagree with that policy. Believe me, I feel like the economic advisors didn't think things through before even suggesting such a policy to him. And why would I say that, Ben? If you take the national service, I would say that national service has contributed to maintaining the peace we have in Ghana. Why? Because it has been able to trigger intermarriages. And Ashanti, someone in Kumasi, is sent to Tamale to do national service. He or she ends up marrying there to a Dagomba or another northern. Someone is brought to Volta, someone is brought to Accra. That is one thing. So it has brought about intermarriages, resulting in a more peaceful atmosphere within the Ghanaian community. If you look at national service too, I see it as a poverty reduction strategy. Poverty reduction strategy because it has helped to reduce the inequality, income inequality existing between the poor and the rich. Someone who is able to finish national service, university or whatever in the north or in Bekwai, Asankragwa, wherever. Luckily, national service could post that person to Accra, to Cape Coast. That person could even get posted to Parliament. That is an opportunity created for that individual, an opportunity that he or she will have never had in his or her lifetime. So it is a way, it's like the SS placement system, the SHS placement system. Because of that mandatory placement system, people who couldn't even attend Presec, people who couldn't even attend Achimota, they are now able to get access to that. So when you have such a poverty reduction strategy in place, when you have such an income reduction, inequality reduction in place, you don't mess with it. You find ways and means to improve it. Again, the third point about national service to me that I think it shouldn't even be tempered with is that national service serves as the first point of job to most youth in Ghana. You see, the Ghanaian system is not like the advanced system, whereby you are in the university and you are taking jobs outside the university. When I first came, we all did that. I was enrolled in my program at the same time doing menial jobs. So it's part of your CV, you put it. But in Ghana, we don't have that system. So the first job the graduate gets in Ghana is the national service. That is why he or she uses as work experience. And in the system today, even with 1 year work experience, companies don't still want to hire you. So if you make it optional, where will the kids even get that work experience to begin with? And again, there is the tendency of corruption being exposed more, or corruption even increasing in that sector. I'll say currently it is alleged. Let me say alleged because it's not proven. I don't have any facts with that. But it is even alleged that currently, even though postings are mandatory, if people want to get lucrative private sector or even government sector, they have to pay something to get their service changed. So imagine it is not even mandatory anymore, and it is now optional. When you make it optional, you put more powers into the duty bearer, whoever is there as the director or those in charge of the national service, to now dictate whoever they want to post, because it's now optional. So if I apply and I cannot pay whatever they want me to pay, my application could be rejected at that point in time. So are we going backwards, or where are we heading to as a nation? So in my opinion,
Dr. Iddrisu, can you hear me?
This is really a bad policy that should not even have been thought of in the first place.
All right, can you hear me, Dr. Iddrisu?
You are just doing national service to serve the nation. But
Dr. Saad Iddrisu, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. For a moment, I thought you couldn't hear me. We're pressed for time. In the next 2.5 minutes, I want you to address, so I can let go of you and deal with Eko Asifwa and then wrap this end of the conversation. The tax component, he talks about tax digitization, which will be implemented in his administration. He talks about, of course, he disowned the 4 key government tax impositions, the e-levy and others, saying that he will scrap them. The question is based on what exactly is he going to scrap them. I want you to focus on these. What are you saying about taxes, among others, and maybe the economy to wrap? What are your quick thoughts on that? And are you convinced that based on what he said, he will be a better leader for Ghana compared to a John Dramani Mahama, compared to even a Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo? Quick thoughts on that, and then we can wrap.
To be honest, before the lecture, I would say that it's like I overestimated the delivery that will have come out. But after the lecture and looking at all the policies that has been outlined, I don't see a major job creation policy for the youth. And that is my problem, or that is my concern, because we are in a challenge of higher unemployment. Where the youth even graduate, they are looking for jobs they can get. So if you are bringing out policies, you must bring out policies that will be action-oriented. Let me just give you one example. For example, we have a sanitation problem in Ghana. If any government or any party leader comes out and tells us that, okay, each constituency or each district, I am going to pick 1,000 youth, 5,000 youth, as sanitation officers to make sure that that district or that constituency is clean. Multiply that by the number of districts or the number of constituencies. That will give you an approximation of the number of youth that will be employed. This is an action-oriented policy. You are creating jobs for the youth. At the same time, you are helping to deal with the sanitation problem. So whoever reads that policy, whoever takes it, they're able to see a clear-cut situation over there on what the government wants to do for the youth. But looking at all the stuff that Bawumia brought out, Dr. Bawumia brought out, I didn't see a youth-centered policy in that regard. And when it comes to the taxes, Ben, let me just conclude with that. You see, with the taxes, you have a situation whereby the government is already experiencing revenue shortfalls, right? It's good to abolish all the nuisance taxes, the e-levies, the VAT and all that. But when it comes to the tax amnesty, it's a bad policy. They should not even think about that. I say that the tax amnesty is bad because you should rather focus on improving your tax collection mechanism rather than giving tax amnesty to businesses. Remember that the businesses in Ghana, not all of them end up reinvesting their profit. So if you give them tax amnesty, some of them will repatriate their profits out. So the country doesn't benefit from that tax breaks you are given. So in place of that, I would have loved whereby we have probably a payment plan, which is known as the tax payment installment plan, whereby the government will even give them some time. If you are owing 5-year taxes, 3-year taxes, we will give you a payment plan so that Ghana wouldn't lose much revenue in terms of that. Because whichever government that comes into power, you have to take out of the revenue shortfall.
Dr. Iddrisu,
so should be out of the situation.
All right, by and large, to what extent were you convinced by the Vice President's message on a scale of 1 to 10? Just give me a figure.
4 over 10.
4 over 10.
And 4 over 10 because of the credit system.
The credit score system.
Policy. The credit score system, that is a good policy. If any government implements it, it will help Ghanaians. If only it is implemented properly, because that is what the advanced countries have been able to use to help consumers. You could buy things on credit. That is the only reason I'm giving the Vice President 4 over 10. It's a good policy, no doubt about that.
All right. And I did mention that, in fact, it's one of the few things I heard him say that I was in support of. Dr. Saad Iddrisu, economist, Louisiana Economic Development, thank you very much. And I've been consulted on that, the credit scoring system, and it's a good thing, I believe. But apart from that, I don't really know. Eko Asafua is Member of Parliament for Old Tafo. Eko, on the back of this, do we still have Eko Asafua? Do we have Eko? All right, then. Alan Tremateng has been speaking on these matters, and he says Bawumia can't absolve himself from the economic mess that we find ourselves in, and he has owned it, that when he was trade minister, he was also a part of that mess. What I didn't really hear of, right before we move on, is how to tackle corruption and how to really build our economy, pull it back from the bootstraps in terms of where we are. But we'll have more time. There'll be many more days where we'll be reflecting on the Vice President and what he's had to say. Definitely tomorrow, I'll be looking at that. But for today, we kickstart a new segment on the AM show. It's called AM Exclusive. We'll bring you exclusive interviews, exclusive interactions with people who have something to share. Now today, our first guest is a Member of Parliament for Iddrisu, whom he's not been given a return ticket, but he had quite a number of things to share with me in terms of politics within the MPP and the way forward. He's Member of Parliament for Iddrisu, Dr. Dixon Adumaku-Kisi. Please enjoy. Welcome back on the AM show, and today is a special day. It's our very first installment of something we're going to be bringing to you every week. We call it AM Exclusive. We're going to be getting those people that matter, not just in the corridors, those who walk the corridors of political power, but those who have something to say, something to share with us. And today we're pleased to bring you from his own office, Dr. Dixon Adumakukusi. He's a medical doctor by profession. I also hear he has a bit of an economics background. Maybe he'll share some of that with you. But he also is Member of Parliament for Iddrisu. But something has happened in the MPP primaries. We'll get into all of the action with him. Doc?
Good morning.
Thanks for joining.
Appreciate it, and the pleasure is mine. Yeah.
Right. Let's start with your constituency, Iddrisu. You've been on my show a number of times and we've spoken about Antieku, the road and everything.
Yes.
But you've also done a lot in Iddrisu over the past few years. Things that I've been in the constituency at a point, which I have seen. So it came as a bit of a surprise when your delegates failed to vote for you. In fact, if you look at the difference between you and the winner, it's almost 200 and something. Emmanuel Tobin polled 818 votes. You polled 566. How did this happen? What do you think accounted for it?
Well, first of all, let me thank the media houses. You guys do fantastic in terms of your engagement with the public. And any opportunity I get to do this, I'm also very happy. With regards to the primaries, I mean, there are so many factors that go into it. And I think every constituency is different. For mine, I think, one, it was also a surprise for me because I felt that our constituency was a type that was a very long-term thinking, in the sense that we've always kept our leaders at post for a long time so that they can grow, learn,
have time to do stuff,
improve over time. And we've always been of the opinion that the longer you stay, the better the constituency gets. But then again, you know, times do change. And as it stands now, this election had so many issues. But I think that to a large extent, I mean, one, I'm a dissenting mind in some circles. And I think that may have also contributed.
When you speak of a dissenting mind, I know some of what you may be thinking of because you were one of those MPs, for example, who felt that Ken Ofori-Atta should go at a point in time. You shared your opinion. And one thing I have liked about you is the fact that you are not one of those MPs who kowtow, who toe a certain strict line without necessarily looking at the surrounding circumstances. You speak this way, you speak that way. But you think maybe some of those decisions you took, for example, we do know that some of your colleagues, those who stood, you know, saying that Ken Ofori-Atta should go, have actually lost their seats as well.
True.
You feel that came back to bite you?
Well, I mean, like, there are multiple factors, but that certainly is one. And I also think that as we mature as a country, we'll get to a point where we will also take care of dissenting minds. And I'll cite the likes of today, Roe versus Wade in America.
Right.
You know, at a point in time, the dissenting minds were not respected.
Right.
But 50 years down the line, their dissent is what is in vogue. There are many other decisions in the Supreme Court justices that sometimes the dissenting opinion was not respected during the time, and later on became the voice of the people. And it's like fashion. Sometimes in the 80s, what was fashionable wasn't fashionable in the 90s. I mean, young men now like Afro. It wasn't a big deal, you know, a few years ago. People are keeping more beard now. You know, it was
reminiscent of decades ago.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it goes and comes.
So I think that, you know, sometimes dissenting opinions don't matter during the actual time, but history might be the best judge.
Are you suggesting then that some of you were set up to lose in a way? Because look, whether you're looking at your dissenting as far as Ken Ofori-Atta is concerned, or you're being open-minded in discussing some of the myriad issues, and you've done that a lot on my show, and I've personally behind the scenes commended you for that. and maybe for the fact that you had come across this way, some were not comfortable with your positioning and set you up to lose? Because I've heard different things, all the way to even another MP who could have contributed to your loss. So what do you make of it?
Well, the thing is, there's also a cultural thing. You know, I think my foreign upbringing also influences me in the sense that I'm used to being vocal. And in Ghana, I think that most of the time people want you to not say what you think and rather be mute and suffer in quiet. And you know, per my exposure out, we prefer that people speak their minds. And I think that if you don't speak your mind, then what's the point of the knowledge acquired? What's the point of the experience, you know, acquired? And I believe that it's important for legislative members to be able to express themselves and to, at all times, be the people's representative.
But are you not able to do that?
Well, I think you suffer the consequences.
You feel you've suffered the consequences?
Which, to some extent, I mean, you know, I like I said, there are many factors that contributed to this. But certainly, I think dissenting opinions would have contributed. And I believe that, like I said, history later will be the best judge. And I also think that, you know, in politics, some have been shot and killed for dissenting.
Right.
And this is not a death. This is let's say is you know somewhat of a loss, but the voice still stays on. And I believe that even after Parliament, I'm still going to be very active politically to be able to speak as and when necessary on matters and issues that I think that I know something about. And I'm going to still contribute largely, especially on the importance of healthcare in the next election. And I believe that the onus is on us to also make certain things important to the politicians, so that if the politicians know that rent issues are key to Ghanaians, it will become a key talking point. If politicians become aware that jobs and jobs and jobs are what the youth are asking for, then if you stand on the podium, you better give us solutions to jobs. Right. So I'm going to be in one corner, making sure that healthcare is front and center of 2024 elections. And I'm not doing it necessarily just for the MPP, but more importantly, so that the populace also are conscientized to appreciate efforts that either the MPP has done in the health domain, or the NDC, or what they stand to give us if they should come, so that we can weigh what the MPP party has done on the health front in terms of the human capital, in terms of the infrastructure, and then posit that against a track record of the Mahama administration, and then more importantly, make a demand that, hey, the NDC took away NES's allowance, the MPP brought it. Has it been beneficial? We need to carefully assess.
We need to have those crucial conversations on policy,
on policies
and effecting those.
And then move away from, you know, those things that really aren't necessary. I believe that we should put more merit into our governance system. And, you know, the politicians are a reflection of the people. So if the people are demanding appropriate things, the politicians will have to yield. Suit.
Right.
So maybe we're not doing enough as citizenry. We should be driving the issues. In the US and other jurisdictions, it is about immigration.
Yeah.
Immigration.
Topical issue.
So we can drive we can drive whatever we're doing to make sure that we're making healthcare important.
Right.
We're making vis-a-vis education, higher education important. We're making jobs for the youth important. So these are my thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you're very passionate about health-related issues. That is clear. And whenever we've had interactions, you've always found a way of bringing that in. But would I be correct in concluding then that what you're communicating to me and to our viewers is that this is just a comma, a semicolon in the sequence of the sentence of your political career, and that it's not a full stop?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There'll be more paragraphs or sentences to come.
Absolutely. This is just the beginning for Dr. Kissi. I'm still under 50, and I think most senior politicians start in their 50s. So for a young guy, I can only say that I may have started too early doing politics. But that doesn't mean...
I think we tend to start too late in our part of the world.
Well,
look at the ages of presidents and other places.
Yeah. Obama was president at 40. Yeah. So I think that, in all honesty, this is just the beginning. It's not even, this is just the beginning. So I've had a very good taste of my beginnings of politics, and this is my third primaries I've gone to. And for me, I think it's just the beginning. So,
you lost the first?
I lost the first to Honorable Shelia Yokoboche, slim margin. Went the second, won, and then the third lost to Ima, and it's just the beginning.
Okay.
And politics in this country takes so many shapes and forms. So it won't be necessarily just Parliament. I mean. But there's going to be a comeback in one way, shape or form. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move away from those who were set up to lose and all of that. I've heard so many conversations on the back of that. But let's talk about delegates. I feel it's a dragon that we are rearing, giving life to. And someday it's going to spit fire and consume our political system. And I'm talking about both of you parties, because we look at your internal politics and see the money that is shared. We've seen LED TVs, or is it whatever, state of the art.
Eventually we'll buy airplanes.
People are giving 5,000 CDs, 2,000 CDs to delegates. I've had people tell me, that we gave millions of CDs. We expended millions of CDs on D-Day. That before that, and I'm asking myself, do you guys have that much money to blow, to throw around on the back of? And I've even heard some people say, Adomaku kisi ontia, which is why. What is your experience?
Well, I think that in principle, politics, we all need to be very careful, because I think that you're right about delegates and the fact that it's becoming a beast, that if we're not careful...
It has become a beast. Now some of them, I mean, you remember the last time they will tell you, no money, no vote.
No vote, So what it is, I think that some very serious considerations have to be given by both parties in terms of the way forward. And then in terms of the college that decides on who becomes your representative. And I believe that it is rather appropriate that in the future we have an appropriate college, that those who decide... An electoral college, that those who make that decision go through some care in terms of why and why not. And I believe that it should be so tight that to an extent that if there's any monetary influence, you might be disqualified. And I really think that might be
there. Your party has spoken about even the TNT, and they'll do this and do that. You don't do this, but people are still doing it. In Francis Hassan-Sobwache's Bantama, there was talk about camping, but it was said, no, it's not camping. It is people who have come together to pray at a point in time. People are finding innovative means. One thing that is clear is that no matter what the parties say, these people circumvent, so they find ways of going about it. I think the parties are not willing to crack the whip.
People are sophisticated, both the politicians and the voters are sophisticated. So it's a very complex game. But either way, I believe that, let me be frank with you. I've been a student of James Cameron, okay? And
the former British PM.
Yes, who's now in another role. I believe that, one, we need to educate our people who wish to go into politics. There should be an appropriate, not just political science. The pool from which they pull people to do politics in the UK or in America are very well read, well learned, technical people, so that what they churn out is good content.
You know what you remind me of? Kwame Nkrumah's ideological institute. You can call it propaganda. The Cubans do it to a certain extent, but I feel we need, I agree with you, we need some basics, because sometimes, honestly, I speak to some of you politicians and you ask yourself, where did this person, you can tell it's just about this person has been thrust into a certain position. They lack certain basic things.
Yeah. So I think that the content will improve if the caliber of people, look at the Israeli system. Every young guy goes through the military, and then out of that, they have a special unit that is based on your performance and based on your knowledge and skill, and until you've gone through these and qualified, you would not see yourself in some positions, and that helps with merit. And I always say that, listen, elsewhere, when they have to choose from people being judges on the Supreme Court, there's a barrage of very skilled people. And if they have a leaning towards one direction or the other, it's not as bad as having a non-skilled person being appointed. So I think that over time, and that also depends on the executive, it is important that we make sure that the people and caliber of people we appoint have some basic level of acumen that is acceptable. That will make them also perform. Now, the other thing too is that, unfortunately, some don't like to have around challenging minds. And that also needs to be
problem of our politics.
Looked at in politics.
People like yesers, people who say yes, yes, without questioning why we're doing X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. So if we have an attitude of not encouraging dissenting minds, or we just want to flow with people who are yes men, then we stand to lose as a country. And I've done a lot of managerial studies, and sometimes your opponents actually even give you richer contribution than even those who you seem to think are always saying yes. And in politics, as they say, that's the reason why you draw your enemies closer, so that you can be careful in your adjudication and your exercise of your duty. Right. Because those around you would always say, oh, what you're doing is right. But then it takes, for us, the likes of the opposition, to point out some things that, I think that just quite recently, this VAT 15%, it's dissenting minds that won the day. In as much as the party government wanted it, some dissenting minds made a strong case to the presidency, and cabinet said that, hey.
But even then, there's no confirmation. There's not been any affirmation, so to speak, from Parliament, from cabinet. There's nothing yet. It's been out there. There's been talk about it. There's not been any confirmation, which is why organized Labour, is still saying, until they hear something concrete, February the 13th, they will be laying out their tools. They'll be demonstrating. But what do you make of it? People have said that, look, on the back of everything going on, how can you even think of, another 15% on that is VAT on electricity? But government is also in the grips of an IMF program. I hear that there was government was caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. You either reduce expenditure by about 0.2%, or you get that 0.2% via some of these channels, and they opted for.
The key thing is that, in the local parlance, there's a quiet chain at the affair. Now, they cash that all. So the key thing is that the average Ghanaian has, appetite for good things, lovely things. They want plush of everything. But we need to imbibe in us that culture of whatever it is you want, you have to put in to get. And it should not be such that we always want it handed to us for no work. And I really think that for us to do better moving forward as a country, our culture, understanding of taxation needs to be carefully looked at. We need to be innovative in our thinking and approach to teaching the average Ghanaian that, hey, to keep our city clean, we all need to put in. And then sometimes the culture isn't even about how you dirty your city. It's how you prevent the dirtying. And we create the filth, and then we want somebody else to come and clean after. So in short, we should note that government runs on two things: taxes and loans. And government doesn't have money hanging somewhere. Government is like a business. And the only two things that keeps government running is revenue from loans or taxes. Now, when you are in a fix, as we are, where you cannot get the loans, then you have to raise the other arm.
When you've borrowed yourself into the...
Well, we've borrowed
which
and
is
borrowed.
Bad business practice, bad management practice.
Well, I mean, there's two things about borrowing too, which I need to share with you. You borrow to do good investments or bad investments. And I believe that if you've borrowed for good investments, then it's good.
Have we borrowed for good investments?
Largely.
500+ billion Ghana cedis we've added to the debt stock of 122 billion. When you look around you, do you see that we've used this money critically for what it could have? I mean, this administration has had more than all administrations
we could have done better.
in this Fourth Republic combined.
We could have done better in hindsight. That one, admittedly. But today, I'm happy to see the likes of the road leading to Nsawam being done. I'm happy to hear that Temamoto Way will be done. It's a lot of joy to me. So
will be done. We're waiting for it to be done.
I mean, these are
so many things have been
December
said,
we've signed. And I think that this will come to a reality soon. And I believe that yes, the likes of the sea defense. If you've been to
which one,
Cape
Qatar?
Coast,
or which one?
There's one in Cape Coast, which recently, I did Elmina. When you've seen these projects and you are there and you appreciate the concept principle behind them, you realize that these were good investments, and Ghana needed it. And if you look at the energy sector, a lot of the investments there, whether we like it or not, are very relevant to the Ghanaian people, the average Ghanaian. And the only painful thing, which I have to say, is that human capital investment is very difficult to appreciate in the short term. The countless students, yesterday one woman called me who was, distraught that I lost my election, but she called saying that, listen, let's forge on and make sure that the MPP stays on, because her 3 grandkids have enjoyed free SHS. And for her, that is meaningful, and she wants it to continue. Now, how do you measure the impact or benefit of her 3 children who have enjoyed free SHS? It's very difficult. But 10 years down the line, if one of them is a doctor, carpenter, hairdresser, and based on the current knowledge acquired, they are performing better, then you can appreciate it. And until then, you can't. And I know of people who may not have ever been professional accountants, if not for this opportunity, which has brought them to the limelight because they had this...
For which opportunity?
No, I mean to be, considered for accounting.
Okay.
Because he would not have ventured into school. And his or her father may have said, Kwame Nko first, na Ichia before. By the time Ichia before, then you'd have been doing something totally different. So I believe that the benefits are immeasurable, but at the moment, we cannot appreciate. And I know for sure that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will go down in history, if not for anything, by the capital investment and the more so important, the human capital. And if I'm weighing the two, it's going to be Nana Addo human capital investment. Okay. And that is what he's done. And trust me, it is so difficult to measure the benefits, immediate benefits.
I guess with those, it is time that definitely will tell. I just want to go back briefly, because we've moved on, delved even into the VAT 15% and free SHS and everything. But there was a start point. Your constituency and the loss in the primaries. But I just wanted to ask you this. How much did you spend in that? Because I've heard interesting figures, and I'm just curious. I'm sure our viewers are curious as well. How much did you have to spend campaigning before, during, after? I've heard of people who say that on D-Day, Charlie, the amount of cash they gave out.
The last time I said how much I spent, I was, under a lot of serious scrutiny. Really? By our tax handlers in this country.
Hey.
So
this time
I've learned my lesson. But let me be honest about one thing. Campaigns are expensive now. Campaigns are expensive. Even if you're doing T-shirts, posters, whatever it is. I did calendars and things like that. Campaigns are expensive, and I think on average, your number of delegates matter. I had close to 1,500 delegates.
1,500.
Yes, and it's a gamble. So but then it gets.
So you gambled.
It gets to a point.
Your gamble didn't pay off.
It gets to a point you have to ask yourself. I mean, is what you're going to get worth this much? And
so I just did a simple calculation, and this is like the bare bones of it, because I've heard of 5,000, 3,000, 2,000 per delegate. You have 1,500 delegates,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Even if you were giving them 1,000 cities, that is 1.5 million Ghana cedis. Only. I like the way you went only.
I've always liked the word only, because when you write checks, if it's in a billion, you'd say only. Okay.
Wow.
So that's
So you had to do what you had to do.
Yes, I mean
you had to take the gamble.
I had to, and I think that decisions don't come cheap. Decisions don't come cheap, and every thing, when you're doing policy. That's why policy is expensive.
Right.
When we have to agree or disagree on policy matters, that is why decisions don't come easy. So, you learn it, and it's worth the play. I can boldly say that going through 3 primaries, I'm a very somewhat experienced politician now, and the experience gathered, fantastic.
Right.
And I believe that it will contribute to my next leg, whether good or bad. And I believe that, I want my people to know I'm still under 50 and the future is bright. I'm a very long-term investor. My foresight, I think far. So this is a minor glitch in the system. And we'll bounce back and do even greater, trust me, even greater. So
if you were to get a ministerial appointment in a future MPP government, would you take it?
Another opportunity to serve Ghana, I will. I'm all for.
Which sector would you preferably choose? Health?
Well, my constituents need roads. So I would love to have something, either roads or work and housing, because that is what is the most
crucial problems,
troublesome for my constituent. But wherever, whenever, wherever they put me in the future, I'm ever ready to serve. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Public Accounts Committee and
Yes.
some of what has been unearthed in recent times, putting that side by side with the latest corruption perception index. It appears we are not making a headway. If you follow the PAC sittings and you listen to what goes on right from the districts and these enterprises, state-run and everything, it appears it is loot as much as you can. Internally generated funds, gone. Contracts bloated, sometimes beyond the 60% that is allowed. You get to the Auditor General, sometimes they'll tell you, let there be retrospective, whatever. The system is a shambles. What do you think we can do? Because it appears the fight against corruption, let's face it, we are not winning this fight. If anything, corruption, let me speak tree here. That's what's happening.
I'm in Public Accounts Committee and I'm of a different perception.
You are?
Yes. I'm of a different perception in the sense that the volume of issues have reduced.
Oh, as for the volume, I believe some will, and it's because of fear. In the rest of that in subsequent shows, segments, bulletins as well. That was my interaction with Dr. Dixon Adumaku-Kisi. He's Member of Parliament for Anyaso Utuam. He's not been retained. He will not be returning to Parliament. And that was for AM exclusive. But today we go back. AM on wheels. Where are we taking you today? Amasaman. We're having a conversation with residents on the Dusty Road, an accident-prone area, and what they want authorities to do about the situation. My colleague, Sweetie Abochi, is on that beat.
Where it goes without saying that bad roads are the number one challenges they are facing in this constituency. But on the back of that, also on the back of the road issue, it appears they're expanding roads, but it comes with demolishing some of the buildings. I'm here with the unit committee chairman of this constituency, and he has a story. Like we do, I'll give him the citizen's microphone and let him tell your story. And then later on, we'll go to speak to some residents whose homes have been affected by this demolition exercise. And then we'll talk to some other youth in the community to understand what their grievances are. Thank you so much for joining us, Wisdom. This morning, Emmanuel, thank you for joining us, Emmanuel. So what exactly is the situation here?
Thank you, and thanks for seeing people around. Because it's been a while we've tried to get in touch with you people. Amasaman constituency, we have so many problems right about now. But the thing is, if you can see, there is expandment of the road, which is causing some demolition and stuff. And for the demolition, they made us know about the places there will be demolition. But later, they came back again, creating another space, which the citizens are not aware of, and it's creating problem. Day in, day night, they are calling me, what are we doing about that? So I'll show you places that you see.
So is this the house, was there a structure here, a home here that was demolished? This rubble we are seeing, is it as a result of some of the demolition exercise?
If you can see it, yes, it's a building here with attached here, and there's a building here as well. So that day, when the demolition was going on, they called me and I came. So I saw everything, how it was going on. So when we asked them about how it was going, they told us there was a mark and stuff. They told us that there is this expandment to create. And we understood them. We called our people, made a meeting with them, talked to them. But later, they came whilst we don't know anything about creating another marks. That's the problem now we are facing.
Is it the situation that these houses are already in the way of these roads, or they're just expanding and you are the unfortunate victims of these expansion projects? Are the house in the way of these roads? Is the house on a road?
That's what I would say. What we know is some are on the roads and they are aware of it, but they were aware of it for a long time ago. They don't know that it will happen as soon as possible. you think?
So right now we are going into the house of one of the places that have been demolished for the road expansion project here in Amasaman constituency, led by the unit committee member. Good morning. Yo, I've met my hometown people. Let me sit beside you. So we heard that yes, about aware. I'm asking if she's aware that this expansion and demolition exercise is going to take place.
Maraku malado dong na miu bo hog bago kayo gba mo tovo afiva global mi hanya tolama ika nye hweso wanya nyatefo.
So she didn't know, they didn't know that their house will be part of those that will be demolished. It was after the first batch of demolition happened that they said that their house is also included, and it's not fair to them. Doba yo miadaga itapabubu ya lo garden na mami na miyako a relocate miadokia.
Maraku ba yo na miega. Kakava serefifia nyesanyara ka haraku.
So I was asking if there's any sort of compensation package for these, relocating them to settle somewhere else since their house is going to be demolished. And they're saying, yes, they were promised some money, but up till now, they've not seen anything like that. Nova de leka wagami alafia.
Mia glonoba nova fiara kamaliu miayu. Ya vo fi life ya no na miega ha. Ya nyigbara ka kpoga fiara ko kanyo ba wachitafwa atukonani.
Even if they give them the money, there's nowhere they can go right now and get a piece of land and rebuild a house in the interim or on the spur of the moment. So they must find a place that is, conducive enough for them to relocate and settle back into life as they know it. That they are fun. Anya ji mafia de leka wohana kwe.
Ika onwana jogoma nyama lafia. Malafa. Yo yomba ota agba. Ha, obata pasiare ki ka ikuka. Mo globe kata. Obachilakpo mi ochilakpo ikuka.
So she was saying that when this all started, she wasn't around. And the first batch of demolition projects that happened, they were informed that it was only their bathroom, the rubble we saw back there, it was only that place that would be affected. Maraku Inyaji.
Bevu afio gavaba akhoya kalakbaya akbarang yo bono dangu la jina yo ogbe yo vagbe ta obakpaya makbarang ta mio susu meba via suso azu miato amagbasaga ni do me akoi ko va dogo ba fia akbarang yo va anglo angwareji.
So they didn't know that their house will also be affected. They assumed that they've lost their bathroom and, that's okay. And now they're told that they have to completely move because their house will be demolished. Whatever the case, the house will be demolished.
Vasara fia oba tuise o va tuisa vai movada ko boyo ga ko venemi afi avavagbi da ka vasara fia o ma vara ko
yo glonya na mi
na ba Christmas apa kosira ame kosira fida kleme no dagba do mi Christmas am.
So they were told during the Christmas season that before the demolition they will bring them some money. Up till now, the money has not been received, but they've been served a notice that in 2 weeks' time they'll be back here to demolish the house, and they're in a state of despair. As you can see, the woman shedding tears. They don't know where they would move to if they come in the 2 weeks that was promised. However, the 2 weeks is passed and they're not yet in. So fingers crossed, let's see how that will play out. Kade no kogana mi fifiade leka fika yiga miala. Alo fika mi chwa fiva la fia in the first place.
Oh, nyo afia ojimido. fia ko jim do miachi ta yi fa bu bora kamala miashu na mi cho fia ba mi ya pa do na ra kamali mi na ogo ta nya manya leke manya ma blogge but no ko gana mi fi like ko mi apo ta fa ya manya ra ko
Welcome back on the AM show. Now, before we draw the curtains on the show, we're hosting members of SMOGA, the St. Mary's Old Girls Association. And it's been 25 years since the 1999 year group graduated. And they are up to quite a number of things, also supporting the 74th Speech and Prize Giving Day. Well, I have joining me in the studio, Joanna Muse, Vice President, SMOGA 99, and Elsie Ayite, member of the Planning Committee. Joanna, Elsie, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us on the AM show.
Thank you for having us.
I always like starting conversations from this end. Very briefly, what would you say St. Mary's has done in terms of shaping you to become what you've become? I like throwing that to all students. I'll start with you, Joanna.
I think St. Mary's has really done well molding us in terms of discipline. Okay. The routine that we had to go through daily with the sisters, with the teachers, our headmistress, assistants, so everyone, they molded us and shaped us. And I think generally we are very disciplined. You're smiling.
Okay. And for you, Elsie?
I believe St. Mary's gave us a very good quality education. Okay. And some of the friendships we've been able to maintain across the years are from St. Mary's. So we've had networks since we went to St. Mary's 25 years ago. So that has stuck with us.
Okay. And look at you, 25 years on, yes. Still living up to that. But let's talk about the focus of the conversation. The 74th Speech and Prize Giving Day is coming up. And of course, you are also marking 25 years of having left St. Mary's. I know you have a plan of activities, but let's talk about the Speech and Prize Giving Day and what the plan really is. Elsie?
All right. So for the Speech and Prize Giving Day, that is happening on Saturday.
Okay,
and
this Saturday.
This Saturday.
That's the 10th, right?
The 10th. Okay. And it starts at 10 a.m. But leading up to it, on Friday night, we're having entertainment with the girls. Okay. And we're having featuring... exciting. Keche. We have the duo, Keche, coming to perform for our girls. And we also have Perez Music coming to perform. So a little bit of gospel, a little bit of jamming for that night. And then on Saturday at 10 a.m., well, on Saturday we also have a meetup with our boys, Accra Academy at Osikan, after the entertainment night. And then we go on to Saturday, where we have the Speech and Prize Giving Day at 10 a.m. And after the Speech and Prize Giving Day, we would have Thanksgiving Mass on Sunday.
Okay, sounds like a raft of activities you have planned ahead of Saturday, the Speech and Prize Giving Day, and of course, Thanksgiving on Sunday. But there are other things, because marking your 25th anniversary, you're also looking at your legacy project.
Exactly.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so as part of the tradition of St. Mary's, when you're marking your 25th anniversary, there are 3 things that you need to do. First, you need to pick up a legacy project. That's to support the school with whatever they need. So we did a renovation of one of the washrooms in one of the dormitory blocks. Okay. So we are handing that over on the 9th at 5 p.m. Then we also had to sponsor our feast day. That's the Feast of Immaculate Conception on the 8th of December. And then you have to also take care of the speech day, which we are crowning on Saturday.
Okay.
Of February.
So the feast day, that was last year?
Yes, in December.
Right, and you're sponsoring the Speech and Prize Giving Day.
Exactly.
And you are donating this, well, of course, the renovation of the washroom.
The washrooms, right. See. And going back a little bit, in June, we had a career day with the girls as well.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So it looks like quite a number of things, about 4 of these that you've been...
Yes, we've been busy.
You've actually
Exactly.
I know things are pretty expensive now. What has this meant to your group in terms of facilitating this and getting the resources to do it?
It's been challenging. Like you rightly mentioned, it's not easy. The economy is hard, but we've been able to get our members contributing, and we've been able to get donations coming in from other organizations and individuals as well. So I don't know if this is the right place to acknowledge.
In fact, I brought it up, so let's go ahead and
acknowledge some of our sponsors. We have Goyle, we have MTN, we have Farmer Care, we have Quality Insurance Company. We also have Gridco and, of course, Mother Smogger. I think she would talk more about Mother Smogger.
Okay.
So Mother Smogger being the mother association, organization for the Old Group Society, have been so helpful, guiding us and directing us how to go about things. So shout out to Mother Smogger, National Executives.
Yes.
We thank you so much. Our leader is Smogger Linda Graham. Thank you for everything that you do for us.
Okay, so before we cap it all off, what can those who will come participate from far and near, what can they expect? Are you going to stream this at any point so that maybe some people can follow online?
It will be streamed. It will be streamed on Facebook.
Okay.
Yep.
What can they expect in the course of from tomorrow leading all the way to the weekend?
I believe they can expect an inspirational event. They can expect to see wonderful young girls being educated and us supporting, putting our weight behind them. They can expect to support the education of the girl child, basically. And we promise it would be a very beautiful event. It would be interesting.
Okay. For you, Joanna?
Our entry to all Smogger 99 ladies, come, connect, give back, let's make new memories. And to all Smoggers, it's time to come back home. Join us this weekend.
And speaking of joining you, I know you're going to be singing something for us. What are you going to be singing?
Oh, our anthem.
Your school's anthem.
It's very lovely.
Okay, so for that, we have a surprise because we have other Smoggans, 2 wonderful ones who are going to be joining the choir. We have a makeshift St. Mary's Old Girls Association choir in the studio. So I'm going to be mum and I'm going to assess her singing. Or maybe you say I should be the conductor. Okay. All right. So on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Hear how gaily all the birds sing at St. Mary's. See how brightly flowers bloom there. Voices ring out clear and joyful at St. Mary's. For we're safe beneath their care. Dear St. Mary's, our St. Mary's, hear the airy sound with laughter loud and clear. Dear St. Mary's, our St. Mary's, will be dearer year by year. For the seedlings that are planted at St. Mary's blossom forth in truth and virtue. And the melodies that ring out at St. Mary's of true faith and love assured. Dear St. Mary's, our St. Mary's, we shall face the future, fearless, calm, and gay. Dear St. Mary's, our St. Mary's, you have shown us life's best way.
Congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
You know, the girls, the women sing so beautifully always. If it had been the men, all you'd hear is the at the back. And
we tried.
You know,
we tried.
But congratulations to all of you. Of course, 25th anniversary to you.
Absolutely.
And your institution on its 74th speech and prize giving.
Thank you for having
We wish you the very, very best. And we had in the studio joining the conversation. Okay, so let me even find out. What's your name? Mildred, okay, and
I am Elizabeth Kissen.
Okay, so Mildred, Elizabeth, and of course we had Joanna Muse, Vice President, Smogger 99, and Elsie Ayite, Member Planning Committee. We wish you the very best.
Thank you.
All right, so that's it. We'll be right back on the AM show after the beautiful singing. We'll be back with more. Stay.
risk associated. Some residents have agreed to talk to us on the opinion on the difference between watering the roads, the benefits that these watering roads have brought to them. Good morning. Thank you for agreeing to talk to us. What's your opinion on the dusty roads and these the water that they are putting on it to reduce the dust in the atmosphere? Oh, Kachi.
Oh, when 20 days, but what has made a camera? Am I? Why the foot to another day? I don't want to come a normal.
Well, he was saying that, like I said, it's great that they're watering down the dust so that it prevents the risk of, all these air pollutants that we are inhaling into our lungs, especially because the air quality index in Accra is very bad. We found another respondent here. Hello. Etisei. He shares the same sentiment that it's great that they are watering the roads so that to prevent so much dust inhalation and all the risk that it comes with. But basically, it appears that this initiative, I'm not sure who's doing it, but it's been very beneficial. When we were coming into the constituency, it was terrible. We practically had to roll up, wear nose masks when we got out. But now that they're doing this, I think it's going a long way to reduce the risk associated with inhalation of dust and fine particles in the air. Oh, hi, how are you? What do you think about these dusty roads and what they're doing by watering it down and the benefits that it has for you?
Yeah. In Futuro, they are too much. Cars are more than Jumano, water tank near 2. It's in almost cost no more about.
Why not? Do you know who's doing it?
Oh, no. But in Futuro, they are not doing. I'm to me, Jaws, and my baby Gusu. Sanka, Dawson we be a fast to the Bibiana, and Cabell best. As I say, Diana or Crown, or more Tony idea. It's in Futuro, no query, and in near to this. Massa, annoying.
He thinks that they should have more than 2 water tankers that can be going and coming, during the course of the day, because just 2 is not sufficient. And so they need more.
Yeah, we need more cars, more water cars, so that they should provide the waters, then make you feel free. Then you see, yeah.
All right. Thank you. So this is Amasama constituency, and we're talking about dusty roads and what they're doing in the constituency to reduce the risk associated with dust inhalation and fine particle inhalation in the air, especially because of the air quality index in Accra. For Joy News, I'm Sweetie Abochi.
Well, that was my co-host, Sweetie Abochi, taking us back to Amasaman on that issue of very bad roads, which of course need a lot of water, dusty roads as well. That has been AM on Wheels for today. Right before we go, get ready for Joy News Desk. Happy birthday to my princess, Inshira Ikia Anoche Obeng of Crown Glory School at Malam. And it's from her dad and the family, David Amwa Jotex, as we call him, of the camera department at the Multimedia Group. So happy birthday to you, Princess Inshira Ikia Anoche Obeng of Crown Glory School at Malam. It's from your dad and the rest of the family. Well, that's how we cap off the conversation today. You can be sure that we shall continue to talk about Dr. Bawumia and his plans for Ghana. Joy News Desk up next, Tuesday.